Sideways, boys in the days. Sideways, boys in the days. Sideways, boys in the days. On a Sunday night, I might rain me some days. Sideways, boys in the days. Sideways, boys in the days.
All right. So, thank you, man. I really appreciate you doing this. And for those of you who don't know, this is the homie OleranGaming. And for people who may or may not know who you are, why don't you just explain who you are, what you do on Twitch?
Yeah, so I'm a breaker. That's kind of how I've come back to streaming again. I used to stream video games and gameplay and stuff like that, just like never anybody watching. It was just for me to do something.
Right.
But I came back to card collection after just going a long period of not collecting cards. I sold my collection. I actually didn't even intend to collect cards ever again in my life.
Yeah.
And it was probably February last year or January. I went out and bought some cards, opened them up, and I was like, "Wow!" Even though like I got nothing, I was
Right,
like,
right.
"That I remember that feeling. That was always a good feeling." And then I was watching like Facebook stuff, and I came across PokeRev and all of this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And because the world's all connected, I was on Twitch, and I used to watch lots of Twitch, just getting game drops and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And breakers started showing up on my feed because, of course, all of your accounts are basically connected.
Yeah.
And I started watching them, and I don't know how I got into the channels or like what really happened. I ended up in Miho's channel. He was actually the first break that I ever did was with Miho,
Okay.
and it was like a box of V-Star, so it was also like my first Japanese cards kind of thing.
Right, right.
And then at some point I got raided into Pinche Taco's stream,
Mm-hmm.
and it was just and it was more of a just the vibe. It was very a collector kind of stream where everyone like talks about cards and their prices and
Right,
what
right.
box they're opening and what's a good price for a box. It was more technical than just
Right,
a bunch of people buying cards and putting on a show kind of thing.
right.
And I kind of took to that, and it just kind of naturally, I was like, I talked to him. I was like, how do you do this? How do you get into it? What kind of money do you put into it? Like, if you're
Mm-hmm.
already collecting anyway, like, and you want to stream and you want to do something, like,
Right.
how do you get into it? And he's very open about everything that he does as far as breaking and his price points and where he gets stuff from in
Mm-hmm.
general. And it kind of just developed from there. I started off, I was just basically buying my own cards.
Right.
And I would break like a booster box, and it'd take about an hour, and that was like the stream. And I did that probably like February, March.
Okay.
I would do like one box a week or something like that, and was just funding it myself. And really, like I had one or two viewers. It was pretty small. And then I made the decision that I was going to start breaking, and I brought in some products to sell and set up the store on Shopify and went through all of that. And
Right.
nothing. I had nobody in the so you do it, and it's one of those things that I think, and it's business. Like, it's if you open
Right.
a store, you open it, like, if this the if nobody knows who you are or what you're doing or what's going on, like,
Right. Right.
nobody comes, right?
Mm-hmm.
But people knew that I was doing it, and they drop in, while I was doing stuff, and I was just hanging out, and when I started getting closer to affiliate, everyone, of course, the homies always help you get affiliate. That's
Right.
probably
Right.
the coolest thing about Twitch is that the communities are always like, you can't get a community to come help you make partner, but like to get affiliate and get everything set up, people will come in and help you do that.
Right. Right.
I had like a big affiliate celebration, and it was super crazy. I think I streamed for like 9, 10, 11 hours. I don't even know what it was.
Damn.
It was just like a
Nice.
crazy day. I did all these
Nice.
giveaways just to do something, just to like,
Right. Right.
if this is like tomorrow I flop, I had
Right.
fun. I made affiliate. I did my
Hell yeah.
thing. And again, like after affiliate, it went down, and I just kept trucking at it. And really, my channel's mostly break focused, but I do the giveaways so part of my community, if they're not gonna go in on breaks, or they don't have the money to go on breaks, whatever the reasons
right,
are,
right,
that they can still take part in the channel. They can still,
right,
get stuff, whether it be from pull boxes or giveaways or prizes or what have you.
right,
And it as long as the community is active and everyone is involved, I don't really care. Like, if
right.
one person's breaking and everybody else is watching, that's everybody's enjoying what's going on one way or the other.
Exactly, exactly.
So it's really, it was more of an organic growth rate from the start. I just I went and bought cards, which I was probably thinking about it for 3 or 4 months. I was like, I'd see Pokemon cards, I'd see Magic the Gathering cards,
Hmm.
and I just never pulled the trigger, and I ended up pulling the trigger on Pokemon cards, which, of all things, for whatever reason. And
Right,
I was like, this is probably more entertaining than like Magic the Gathering or any of the other cards that I historically collected,
right.
and just went from there. And then, yeah, it's been a crazy journey to
Yeah,
get to here and realize that, like, this is what I'm doing.
yeah.
Like, even when you're doing it, or I'm like bringing in stock, setting up my stream, I was like, this is kind of, how did I get here?
Right. That day that you
Because we're
stop.
months away now.
Yeah, the day you stop and you sit down and you kind of just look around like, what the fuck has happened? Like this has
Yeah,
escalated. Like what's
yeah,
going on? Yeah.
yeah,
Do you? Okay, so we talked about a lot already.
yeah.
So what was it that made you? What like? Do you remember the day or the time or where you were when you were like, okay, that's it. I'm gonna break. I'm gonna be a breaker. Like, were you?
So I think the final decision, like, I started with the idea of, like, I'm gonna see, like, if people will buy cards for me, even, or,
Hmm.
at that point I wasn't like 100% sure. Like, yes, I decided I was gonna try and sell cards and break, but at that
Right.
point it was not, I'm gonna be a breaker. The big step was actually, I was going back to China, and while I was in China, I bought a bunch of simplified Chinese tag team boxes,
Hmm.
which are relatively hard to find here, and they're really overpriced here.
Right.
So I bought them. I brought back like 12 boxes or something like that,
Hmm.
and they, like, 3 days,
Right.
maybe even 2 days. Like, it was just very fast. They all sold.
Right. Right.
And I was like, that's cool. And like, I had a stream where I was just like opening cards the whole time.
Hmm.
And I was like, that, like, it's enjoyable. Like, you don't have to be opening cards for yourself to, like, go through the motions of the experience.
Right. Right.
And it was like, it gives you that same feeling of opening cards,
Hmm.
but, like, you're not spending $1,000 a day doing it.
Right. Yeah, you live vicariously through your chat.
Yeah. So I do definitely degen, and I have my own collection, and
Right, right,
I like graded cards. I do all of that. But I'd never have been able to, pull all the cards that I have or open as much as I have without being a breaker.
right. No, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
That was
Um,
kind of like April,
right.
somewhere in April,
So
probably
this is
like
April.
April 14th ish.
Yeah, so I mean, not that long ago. What do you think
No.
about it? Same. It's weird because it's like it seems like me and all the people I hang out with, except for like a couple, like Chaco and like the Mac Show, Kyle and stuff. Like a lot of us have just kind of. It's real recent for a lot of us.
Hmm.
Like you, me, Zero, Eviolite. It's all been like kind of recent that like everything's kind of happened. Um, it's been a weird year. Like I said, like
Yeah.
just sitting back and going, like a year ago, this was not my life. I wasn't streaming. I didn't have a podcast. Like, and now I look around like, what the fuck happened?
Yeah. Yeah. How did we get here?
Right. Okay. Well, one thing that I always ask everyone that I sit down with, because I feel like it explains usually a lot about who someone is where did your name come from?
Oh, so this is actually one that I've answered, and it's kind of funny. The name is going to be changing a little bit shortly.
Okay.
Uh, we're doing a lot of artwork for the stream. I have Mystique doing the art,
Right.
and
Right.
it's just phenomenal. I have my
Right.
logo already. If you saw the logo change in
Mm-hmm.
Discord and on the stream,
Yep.
but it all started way back at, like, basically the beginning of Warcraft.
Mm-hmm.
I started playing Warcraft, and at that time, I had been playing, like, this is again years and years ago. I had been playing Ultima Online, and in Ultima Online, I was always Draco. I had a very old account. I was able to pick whatever name I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
So I was always Draco.
Okay.
And then my friends started playing Warcraft, and I hadn't really played an online game in probably like 4 or 5 months.
Hmm.
But everyone was talking about Warcraft, and it's like way back in like vanilla Warcraft. Like it's right at the start. I probably missed launch by like 2 months or something like that.
Right.
So I picked it up, went in. Draco's taken. Every like version I could come up with of Draco was just taken.
Right.
And so I was like, oh, it's Warcraft. I loved Warcraft games. I played all the old Warcraft games, and I was like, I'm just gonna like think of something elfish or like fantasy-ish. And I was like just typing out all these names and like saying them in my head. And even like Oleran, like you say it pretty reasonably. Some people have no idea how to say it.
Hmm.
Um, I have never decided what it sounds like. Like it was just like a sound in my head that I was like, yeah, that sounds fantasy-ish. And like at times I'll say Oleran, at times I'll say Oleran. It's because
Hmm.
it was just a name I made up, and it mostly has always existed as a character name or in typing.
Right.
And like if I'm playing with friends, they all know who I am. If I'm playing in a guild, everyone like shortens your name so they can say it really fast.
Right. Right.
Um, so they only ever say like part of your name or
Yeah.
something like that. And for a while, I had changed servers and I lost Oleran in Warcraft, so I had just added like the Chinese word for small, which is Shao, in the front of it because it like the O would just blend into the name. And then
Right.
people just started calling me Shao, and I like lost Oleran. And then
Hmm.
when I came back to streaming, that was my Twitch account and all of my accounts, so I just kind of kept going with it. Um, and that was really how it came about. It was just something that I came up with because my favorite name was taken,
Right. Right.
and that was 20 years ago,
Wow.
something like that. Like it was a long time ago, and maybe 17 years ago, but a long time ago.
Really?
And that was just always the name. I just used it in every game.
Okay. And you said it's changing soon. Can we talk about that, or is it a
Yeah, for
secret?
sure. So no, it's not a secret at all. I've been kind of saying it on. I haven't been giving a lot of details about what's going on because I wanted all
Hmm.
the artwork because it's going to kind of all go together as I rebrand the stream.
Right.
A few of the people that I hang out with, like in streams, mostly from Taco's stream. One of them is Fonzie,
Hmm.
and Fonzie. Well, he's in the States, but he lived in Montreal at one point in time.
Hmm.
And so we always joke about French and like I'm Canadian, I don't speak French. I can speak French, but I don't really,
Hmm.
I can't converse in French. But we were talking about it, and again, everybody has issues with my name because it's just this sound, like it's just a sound.
Hmm.
And he started calling me Laurent and Laurent,
Hmm.
and the French pronunciation is Laurent.
Laurent,
And
Saint Laurent.
and so as I was developing, like I was like, I finally need to get emotes. I need to, have a stream design.
Hmm.
I'm not gonna like have overlays and a fancy show because that's not. I'm just a breaker.
Hmm.
But I wanted to like have all of that and have my subs have emotes and all of that kind of stuff. And as I was doing it, my first ideas were like very edgy,
Hmm.
like anime edgy style,
Hmm.
like kind of dark. And I was looking at it and I was like, I love it, but I feel like I just wasn't connecting to it. I wasn't getting past that first step
Right. Right.
of kind of like design and what it was going to be. And I was kind of sitting there one day and I was like, I think someone even might have said my name as I was sitting there, and I just
Hmm.
was like imagining this like French cafe and French, and that's kind of like how it developed. Is like I was like I really wanted my like avatar to be an Umbreon. I,
Hmm.
I wanted to use Umbreons in my emotes, and I wanted to make that happen. I was like, well, what if the Umbreon was like a French waiter, and we were at like a cafe or a
Hmm.
provincial cafe or and that was like the design, and that was what the emotes were based off of. And I pitched it to Misty, and she just like
Did her
ran with
thing.
it, like
Yeah.
she's like, oh yeah, and she's like, what about this? What about this? And
Hmm.
I was like, this is kind of what I'm seeing. And I sent her some pictures, and she sent me some pictures,
Hmm.
just as like references,
Right.
and it just like immediately everything came together.
Yeah.
And then she like did up the logo and sent it to me. Like I've watched her streaming, like she's been working on my logos and stuff.
Right. Right.
And I was like, this is awesome. This is
Right.
amazing.
See, that's the beauty of Mystique is not only can you just hit her up with your idea and she can make it amazing, but she'll actually stream her doing it so you can actually watch her do it.
Yeah, see the development of it. Yeah.
Right. That's crazy. We're very fortunate in the community we're in. we have that available to us. So
Mhm.
shout out to homie Mystique
For sure.
and Roland too. Goddamn. But
He always adds some entertainment to the stream.
he does. He does. um. So besides the name and what you do, one thing I always like to know about people is like, what's the home life like? Like, what's your support system at home? Are you in a relationship? Do you live alone? Um,
So I'm married.
okay.
Uh, I don't talk about my relationship that much openly.
Yeah.
I am married. Really, I'm a very, and it's not even independent. I'm just someone who's very comfortable doing everything on my own.
Hmm.
So that's mostly like if I'm just doing this or doing doing work, doing the braking, everything like that. Like it's just me. It's my thing.
Right. Right. So she
So
doesn't
there's
really have a lot of involvement at all.
no, not really.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
like
mean,
she hasn't been on cam. Like people have heard her
right, right,
while I'm doing stuff or
right.
while I'm streaming, but other than that, like she's not really involved in it or anything. She supports what I'm doing, and she's been
Right.
pretty happy with the success I've found.
Hmm.
But opening cards and like there's not a lot of interest on her side for that.
Yeah, I'm in a very similar situation. And almost exactly what you just explained. Um, so like I know exactly what you mean. Like I mean, there's times where like she'll go out and she'll find some cool stuff. She's like, well, hey, what about this? Like there was one time like 'cause she doesn't collect cards or anything like that, but she was out shopping and she came across like ETBs and she sent me a picture of it. And I barely pay attention to my phone as it is. And so I didn't see her text message. And then she had sent me another text going, "Oh, well, these are selling for like this much, and it doesn't seem like these are very moving very much. So I'm just gonna go ahead and leave them." I'm like, "Yo, what? Like, I'm proud of you. Like, what the hell? That was
Nice.
cool." But
Did the research.
yeah, I didn't expect that, because like I said, she's not really into Pokemon. Like, but again, she appreciates what I've done and she's proud of me for it. But like, she doesn't want to be on cam. She doesn't want to be famous. Any of those things.
Yeah.
So it's like people have heard her voice, but she's never been on cam. We've talked about it, but whether that happens sooner than later, I have no idea. Maybe one day. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
I've had some interesting ideas of what to do, and we might do something soon, but we'll see. Um,
Yeah, for sure.
but yeah, I just feel like knowing kind of that aspect about a streamer and a breaker is important. You know what I mean? Because it's like I don't know. Maybe in my book, I feel like I can trust a married man over some single guy that lives with his buddies or lives with his mom or something like
Breaking in
that.
a basement somewhere.
Right. You know what I mean? You're a married man. You got a lot on the line. You know what I mean? You got a
Yeah.
job. You got a family, kind of shit. Like, you got a lot more to lose, and it's easier to trust someone in that category, I guess. It just for me, just for me.
I like
Um,
it.
but one thing that I always also ask people, and I feel like it's important, besides the community, what is your favorite thing about streaming or being a
Like
breaker?
besides having a community, or what do you mean?
Yeah, well, I mean, usually when I ask a streamer, like, hey, what's your favorite thing about being a streamer or being a breaker? They go, the community. It's like the easy answer. Like,
Yeah.
so now I have to say, besides the fucking community, like, what is it that is your favorite thing about it?
So like, I think all answers really are the community, but they might be different reasons for it being the community. For
Right.
me, it um, gives me an outlet,
Mm-hmm.
and it lets me share my interest very readily with people who have a similar interest. Whereas, like,
Right.
like we have a trade night here. I can go every Friday night and hang out with Pokemon people and do trades and talk
Mm-hmm.
to them about cards, but that's once a week.
Right.
At work, I don't have anyone who's interested in any of the hobbies that I have, whether it be video games, cards or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. Like, they have no interest in it. They don't know what I'm talking about.
Right.
So really, when streaming, all of those things that I probably, you know, would like to talk to people about on a daily basis, I
Right.
can I can do that, right? Like that's
Right.
that outlet, that's that connection, and everybody there is similarly minded. Like they, gonna be in my stream as a breaker if you're
Right.
not interested in what that stream is or what's going on. You know, it's
Right.
not. You know, it gives you. I know if I'm talking, I know that the audience is receptive.
Right.
I
No,
think that's what's really important about it for me.
yeah. I mean, and it's like you said, it's like you technically that's the community, but also just being able to have that as an option for someone like you said that just, every other person in your life is not really interested in the hobby, then, you got to find an outlet somewhere. Or what do
Yeah.
you do? Like just give up? You know what I mean? So, no, I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah, I
That's
think if you don't have a lot of people in your life that share the hobby, that's when people kind of like lose interest in their
hmm
hobby, or they aren't as motivated to pursue that hobby because
right.
it's just them. Like
Right.
there's nobody, giving you input or saying, "Oh yeah, that's so cool," or like
Right.
supporting you.
Right.
It's that I like the hobby, I like doing what I'm doing, but I get no like outside feedback, and it's just me and myself, right?
Right. Exactly. Um, okay, so what do you think would be your least favorite thing about being a Twitch breaker?
Um, I think it's my least favorite thing. I think just comes from doing what we do is you you start to feel very like you owe certain things to your community when you probably shouldn't be thinking that way. And for me, it's the time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy to stream as much as I stream and do what I do,
Mm-hmm.
but when you have a night where you're like just exhausted, and it's like I should just call off stream. The
Mm-hmm.
next thought is always immediately like, no, I don't want to let down
Right.
everyone who was planning to come and do breaks or hang out or
Right.
get at grind entries, and that's what they plan to do.
Right.
Um, it's been better now that I've kind of organized an actual like weekly schedule.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that was probably the thing that I dislike most because I really haven't had I haven't had Twitch drama, I haven't had stream drama, I haven't honestly. I think the only people I've ever had to ban are trying to sell me fake viewers. Like
Right.
I haven't
Right.
had anything really go awry in the channel or in the process of what I'm doing. Um, I think really, everyone who's part of our communities knows what's going on, and
Mm-hmm.
whether I can tell you, just from the stream, whether they're breakers or whether they're just hanging out or whether,
Right. Right.
um, and there's not a lot to dislike about what we do. It's,
No.
it has a bit of an entry requirement technologically
Right.
and monetarily, but you can start small.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, most people, if they just want to, if they're really passionate about it, like the hardest part is turning on the camera. And then after that, like if you want to be in Pokemon, just buy stuff for yourself
Oh
and open
God.
it for yourself. Just do that.
Well,
And people will
and
hang out for just that.
I don't think you were around. So when I first started, I didn't have a face cam.
Okay.
The first time I turned on my face cam, I think was for my birthday in August.
Mm-hmm.
When I did my birthday stream and the giveaway, I was like, you know what, I'll throw on the face cam for my birthday stream.
Right.
And then like I didn't do it for like another week or two, and I was talking to people about it and like how they felt about it.
Mm-hmm.
And basically like they were all streamers too, and they're like,
Right.
it makes you much more interactive when there's a
Mm-hmm.
camera and people can see what you're thinking and what your face
Right.
is doing and
Right.
what's
Right.
going on. And I just turned it on one day and just left it on.
Yeah.
And but it took months. Like that was like my birthday's in August, so it was like April, May, June, July. I didn't have a face cam because I wasn't comfortable with it. I wasn't
Right.
even like the first probably 2 months of streaming, just having banter.
Right.
Um, I'm not that type of person in real life. Like I'm not overly social in social situations. I'm not going around talking to everyone. Like that's
Right.
not. I generally am not holding court. I'm not that person.
Yeah.
So streaming, the interactive part of streaming,
Mm-hmm.
definitely didn't come naturally to me. I was very closed in about what I would say to people on stream or what I would, reveal about myself,
Mm-hmm.
because it's how I am in real life. It's, I'm usually very reserved. I don't, tell people things I don't need to know. I don't generally just talk about stuff. So it kind of, I think that's a really tough process for some people. is just finding who you are
Mm-hmm.
naturally and
Right.
like treating your community as friends as opposed to acquaintances. I think is really it's a
Right.
big step for a lot of people.
Yep.
And while some people might just take to it naturally, I don't think everyone does.
No, I feel like there's a lot of people that don't, and I think there's some people that lean towards being themselves, even if it's to a fault, and then I think there's people that lean too far into being something that they're not, also to their
But
fault.
like kind of being a character for the stream.
Right. I mean, and not I don't even mean necessarily being a character, but putting up like a front, like almost like a like customer service voice kind of deal.
Yeah, yeah,
You know what I mean? Like if I rain like you like I know of this to be true for like YouTubers sometimes, they're real like exuberant on camera and then
yeah.
they shut the camera off and then they're like, "Hey, what's up?" You know.
Yeah, I can't remember which video it was. I think it was so the classic collection video PokeRev did for like the
Mhm.
first 10 minutes.
Mhm.
Just kind of used his own voice because he didn't know what he was. It looked like he didn't know what he was getting into in the
Right,
box.
right, right.
And then like after like he finally kind of like figured it out, it just turned back into PokeRev, and I was like,
Right.
so PokeRev is this character, and
Mhm.
he's just a
Right.
normal everyday guy. Like he was just talking like he really didn't know what was going on with the
Right.
box. And like I think that's the first time I ever saw him be like a normal person
Right.
because all of his videos are edited to be like in your face and
Yeah,
he's always talking up here
cuz that's what
uh,
gets attention and views,
yeah, and
know.
that's the YouTube thing. You got the
Mhm.
clickbait thumbnail, the loud yelling, like you're not
Mhm.
yelling, but it's like everything is super energetic in the
Right.
screen. And
Right.
like for me, it's like I'm 2 minutes in and I'm just exhausted watching them. I'm like I can't even.
Right. I mean, I feel
Um,
like it's more geared towards the younger crowd for all that.
mhm.
Um, but
But I think like there's Twitch streamers that are the same way,
mhm.
and my goal was to just be like this is me.
Mhm.
Um, when I have a few edibles, I might act different, but it's still me.
Right, right.
But I'm not like I don't like turn on the camera and here's my character and this is what I'm portraying,
Right.
and I turn off the camera and I'm going to be someone else. That's not what I want.
Right. Like being that this is a podcast that's like for streamers by streamers, essentially, I'm interviewing streamers. Like
Hmm.
I'm nervous of running into that kind of thing where it's like you don't seem at all throughout this podcast like you are on your stream. And I think that might be like at some point be a thing and be something I have to,
It could be off-putting for members of their community per se.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess it
Um,
depends on the
if they
level,
if they never like if the person never really opened up and showed their community who they really are, and like if everyone
Right.
knows you're playing a character but they also know who you are,
Right,
I
right.
don't think that's really a big issue. If you're always playing a character and then suddenly your community sees you being a normal, whatever you want to call it, right?
Right, right.
I think that would probably be pretty jarring to someone's community. But if
Yeah.
you're like if everybody knows you're playing a character, like that's
Right,
your
right.
stream, but they also know who you are, I don't think it matters.
Right. Yeah, I think the ones who like make a definite separation of the two is one thing. But it's like if you're just like trying to put on a customer service voice and just trying to be extra excited about the stuff and it's like disingenuous and like for me like I see stuff like that and it's cringy to me. I just like if you can't be yourself and do the thing like then either A make a character or B maybe it ain't for you. Everything's not for everybody. you know
Yeah,
but
no, for sure.
I think the people that are the most genuine, like you can see it, you can feel it, and those are the people that I'm attracted to the most when it comes to people's streams I want to be in. You know what I mean? That
Oh
genuine
yeah,
quality is like a big deal for me.
and that actually makes it harder. When you're very honest about what you are, like I don't hype up if it's not a big hit. I don't hype up a hit.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm not that person. And like I've twice now I've had breaks go south
Mm-hmm.
in a way that was just unexpected, and it basically just killed the stream because it killed me.
Right.
Like I was like upset about what happened with the break. I was like I couldn't even talk about it. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to say,
Right.
and it really wasn't any like it was just a bad break.
Right.
And basically I was like, okay, guys, like stream's kind of over because I can't recover from this today. I'll have to like I'll make a go at it tomorrow because that's genuinely how I felt when I opened and I saw what happened.
Right.
and it was just, you know, and I think it's like you hype something up, and you know, you go about that. If you're always hyping up,
Mhm.
I think it comes off as disingenuous. If you
Yeah.
hype up, you know, you hype up things that really are hype. You know, you pull like VMAX alt arts and shit like that.
Right.
Like,
Right.
but then you for you know, and in both cases it was expensive boxes that just
Mhm.
didn't go great. And it was
Right.
just like my voice, like when I went back and like my voice just dropped to almost nothing,
Yeah.
and you know that happened, and it's like, you know, that because that's genuinely how I felt. Like I like the stream was over when that happened.
Yeah. No, I've I've had a couple like last big at the end of stream, a lot of times they'll give away like something special for the last giveaway of the night or whatever.
Mhm.
And I've had a couple where it's just been like it didn't end well. You know, and then at that point, I'll throw in like some extra packs or something like that. But I've had one where we did like 10 extra packs and still didn't hit anything, and I was just like, what the fuck is going on? And it's just
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
God damn. If anything, I just have to laugh at like, I can't believe we just primed shit out of the box this much and still didn't hit anything. But it's yeah, it's times like that where it's kind of hard. You know, it's like how do you deal with what is happening? And you know, some people can deal with it really easily and well, and then for some people it's a challenge because I put myself in other people's shoes a lot. Where it's like if I was on their side, how would I feel? And I'm like,
Yeah,
fuck,
yeah, yeah.
I'd be pissed right now.
And
You know?
that's my thing. I think that's what comes across is like, if this was my card, this is how I feel. Some breakers I know they're just like, you know, that's the way the cookie crumbles,
Right,
and
right,
they move on. Like that's not a huge problem for them because it's not their cards.
right.
For me, like I when I open a card and I hit big, or when I open a card and it just flops,
Hmm.
I feel it's the same as if I'm doing it for myself.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean that. I, I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you, man. It's just like one of those things. But
Yeah.
um,
Sure.
but yeah. So if there was one thing that you could change about being a breaker or about Twitch, what would that thing be?
You know, breaker. Um, I think on the Twitch side, honestly, Twitch is not a friendly platform for the actual streamer. You know,
Yeah.
like there's a lot of requirements. There's, you know, there's hills to climb. There's
Mhm.
It's not always clear how, you know, how to go about climbing those hills, or, you know, getting
Right.
monetized or getting your affiliate, or, you know,
Right.
and then you're trying to set up your stream and it's not really clear on which sections you have to go to set up on your stream.
Right.
Um, you know, when like your platform is kind of fighting against you, where you can like set up your stream on like OBS or Streamlabs,
Mhm.
whatever you use, very, you know, most people can do that pretty easily. But
Right.
actually, like the streaming part of it, to get it out there and get people and get communities and get follows and get all of
Right.
that, there's not much there. Like if you don't have like, you know, a community to support you, or other breakers that you know, or other, you know, streamers that you know,
Yeah.
or have a lot of information, there's a lot, like you go down a lot of rabbit holes that you don't need to go down, I think.
Yeah. I agree with that. One thing on that though, like I think that the fact that it is so difficult, like just kind of getting going, it kind of helps weed out like the people that should be there versus the ones that shouldn't. Because if you're not willing to work for it, you shouldn't do it, right?
Oh
And if
yeah,
it
for
was
sure.
too easy, you would have an abundance of people that are going to be here for 3 days and then quit. So you're going to go into like a category like Pokemon trading TCG,
Yeah, and there's
and
just going to
you're
be an endless.
yeah, like 1,000 people, and then at the bottom you're
Yeah.
gonna have 200 people with one viewer, and some of them are like really wanting to be there and willing to put in the work, but you're not gonna see them for a long time. You know what I mean? So I guess like on
Yeah.
that side of it, it's good, but at the same token, like if you didn't know and you didn't like do research on YouTube and talk to streamers to figure out how it is you actually like set up a stream and all that shit,
Yeah, yeah,
you would be screwed because going like directly through Twitch sucks.
totally. And then you go back, like I think a lot of the times that my problem with it is, Oh, I got my emotes today. I'm gonna go.
Mhm.
Where the hell do I go to put my emotes in the system? Oh, I want to blacklist this phrase.
Mhm.
Where the hell do I go to blacklist a phrase? And
Right.
it's like every time I go to do something, it's me like Googling, which one of these
Yep.
sections. But like it's dashboard, community, like all it says is community. What falls under community?
Right. Yeah, it's nerve-wracking. Like you
Yeah,
said, every time you need to figure out something, I got to do a YouTube search, watch
yeah.
4 videos, and kind of figure it out. You know
So
what I
I
mean?
think that's what I mean more than like I don't like the difficulty to like that's just the difficulty of getting up and starting to stream. I
Mhm.
think it's just the setup of Twitch is like you should know what you're doing. Well, I don't know what I'm doing.
Right. Um, so what was like the biggest stream you've done so far? Was it the one for affiliate?
What do you mean biggest?
Like biggest, whether it was like the most important to you or the longest or like the one that stands out the most is like, man, that was like probably one of my favorites, if not my favorite stream.
So my affiliate stream was probably my longest for sure.
Okay.
Like whatever it was like 10, 11. It was a long time. It was
Hmm.
a really long stream. I remember finishing stream and like not even being functional. I couldn't even like put cards away. I couldn't do anything. I was just
Hmm.
like, I was like, that's, and it wasn't even like this is a tomorrow thing. It's like, I
Right.
will deal with that when I get to it.
Right.
Um, as far as my biggest, like, I think to date, I think my favorite stream would have been my first big giveaway.
Okay.
Like I did a giveaway for my birthday stream. I gave away like an Arceus V Star Ultra like premium collection for my
Okay.
for my birthday. For my affiliate stream, I gave away like $400 or $500 in just various products. Like it was nothing big.
Right.
I can't even. I think the biggest giveaway might have been like the 11-pack Crown Zenith box that we had at one point.
Okay.
Um, but I decided to kind of in with my breaking do like monthly or bigger giveaways over a certain time period.
Hmm.
And my first one ended up kind of dovetailing into 151. So my first giveaway was a 151 UPC,
Okay.
which is an awesome product
Oh yeah.
and not a cheap product
Mm.
and you know, everyone was, farming for entries and doing breaks and it was a very busy month of doing that process. And then like it was the first time that I did a big wheel. I think it was like 800, 900 people on the wheel. I think it was 860 maybe.
Yeah.
So that was your stream was the wheel stream and getting down to like the top 5 on the wheel and then getting down to the person who won it and it ended up being like someone who's in stream every day, someone who does a few breaks but they definitely didn't do enough breaks to buy the
Right.
win. Most of their entries were from grinding. The
Right.
entries were spread out really evenly among all the people and to see someone who like that like I knew they were really involved in trying to like get their entries in the giveaway, but
Right.
they were doing it in all of the options that you could do. For me, that win was important because it was like you can't just buy the win.
Right.
And so far, like I've done 2 giveaways and I'm on my 3rd giveaway. The people who have won have been you know, they're in the stream every day. They're active in the stream. They're talking. They're breaking.
Right.
They're doing marbles. They're doing bingos. They're doing everything,
Mhm.
and that feels good.
Yeah.
Eventually, I know there's gonna like the whole point of the giveaway is it could be anyone. It could be any
Right.
one of the 1,000 names that are on the wheel,
Right. Right.
and I don't hold it against that. Like whoever wins wins. It's just been nice that like my first 2 wins have been supportive community members.
Yeah, that's awesome. That is a good feeling. You know what I mean? That's one of the reasons I started doing like the monthly sub goal. Like so basically if you sub yourself or you gift subs, you get entered into a separate giveaway
Hmm.
just for
Yeah.
people as like a separate thank you for helping support the stream. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that it was something that I wasn't like I was kind of reluctant to do because I didn't want to make it like a treasure hunt kind of deal or where everyone's they're only there and they're only going in to try to get that. Like I don't want it to
Yeah.
be about that. It's more of just like a thank you. Like I even thought about making it where it's a secret till the end of the month. you just have to trust me that I'm gonna do you good, you know what I mean? But no, I decided I'm gonna do that, and if we hit a certain goal, then I'll add more to it even. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like having gratitude towards your community for putting you in the position that you're in is super important for people. And
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, one thing is like when I've been in your streams before, like the vibe is always good, the people are always good. There's familiar faces in there. Um, and I think that's why all of us that all tend to hang out together in voice chat after streams and during streams, that's why it's part of the reason it all just flows really well together because we're all so like-minded and we have kind of the same philosophy with our streams and our communities, and our community members see that, and so they bounce around just like we
Oh
do.
yeah.
And it's amazing to see. It's kind of like one of those big things that tells you you're on the right track. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think in our group, like when you go to all the streams, all of those streamers and all the people who like when we go and we're in voice chat,
Hmm.
I think what if I were to say what something that differentiates like our streams from maybe other breaker streams or what other people are doing is that I think all of us are focused on just having fun.
Yep, absolutely.
Like it's not business, like, it is business, but it's not like you don't come in, put our business faces on, break our cards, and
Right,
bounce when there's no more breaks or anything like that.
right,
I think everybody's just having fun and vibing and chilling and
right.
making jokes, talking to people. If someone drops in or something, so said, like it's not like it's more interactive and fun as opposed to just like the business of breaking cards. And that's what some people do, and they break cards for 8 hours, and
Right,
that's all that's going on. Is that's what they have that many people and they're breaking cards. And, that's cool,
right.
but I think once the novelty wears off of that, like for
Hmm.
the breaker, I don't feel like that would be fun anymore. I don't think there would be the same enjoyment. Whereas if you're just always trying to have fun and talk and do your
Hmm.
thing, then the novelty shouldn't wear off because there is no novelty. It's just whatever is going, whatever joke was made during that stream or whatever, shitty card we hit and made a joke about,
Right,
or it's very stream specific. So it doesn't become monotonous.
right. Yeah, and that's another thing too, is like you have people that they have like big streams and they do sell and move a lot of cards for people, but you can tell how much fun they're having. And then you can see some others that it kind of almost seems like they're just at work right now. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And like when you run into that, even if you're just like having a bad day, like I've jumped into streams and it almost seemed like they were just having a bad day and they were just like over it, and then they were just there because they felt obligated to, and it's just like, ah, that's so off-putting. Don't do that. Like once you're
Yeah.
not having fun, you either need to rethink what you're doing and make adjustments, or maybe it's time to throw in the towel. I'd hope not, but like some everything runs its course at some point. You know what I mean? I'm not probably
Yeah.
gonna stream till I'm 100 and die. You know what I mean? At some point, I'll probably hang the hat up, but not for a long time. Not the way
But
things are
honestly,
going.
like you could do it for a long time, and I think
Hmm.
what's important is you have to either develop or change.
Hmm.
As things happen, and
Yep.
if you're not organically changing or adapting to what's going on, I
Right.
think that's going to cause you basically to burn out and be done. Like it's
Yep.
just that hard stop where you're done that day. Um, and I think it's important for streamers to like realize when they shouldn't be streaming.
Hmm.
I know I had one night where I just called early. I was like, guys, I'm like super tired. I'm not feeling like I'm not in that headspace. And then the next day I was like, I'm gonna take the day off. I'm not, it just like I could stream, but nobody's gonna have fun. So
Right.
I'd rather, I'll go rest. I'll go, eat some food and hang out, and just trying to recharge the batteries and just nap all day.
Yep.
And then you can come back to the next stream and like knock it out of the park. But
Yeah.
I think there's some people who don't necessarily. They're like, I got to stream today. I got to stream. This is my schedule, and I got to stream.
Right.
And sometimes, like, I probably we all feel that way sometimes. Like,
Hmm.
like you got to go stream, but you have to be able to recognize when you are just not in a headspace to stream, because like
Right.
that's not going to be good for anyone, and it could negatively impact your
Exactly.
community. It could negatively impact your stream. There could be a whole lot of things, and really all it is you were having a bad day.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, I mean, had to miss a couple of streams just for being under the weather. It's just
Mhm.
like I don't want to be hacking and coughing all stream. You know what I mean? I mean, some people are diehards and they'll show up with a thermometer in their mouth and a blanket over their head,
Yeah, yeah,
ripping
yeah.
cards, and God bless them. But me, like my whole thing is if I can't be 100% for the community, then I shouldn't be on camera, like flat out. And I've had days where like I've worked all day sick as shit and came home and was like, bro, I need to go to sleep. Like as much as I want to stream right now, and as much as I know the homies are probably going to be disappointed, like I need rest and I need to get better. And because, like you said, it very easily could negatively impact. Like like worst case scenario, like I'm sitting here fucking breaking cards for someone because they just won a giveaway, and I sneeze and I get like fucking nasty shit all over their cards or something. You know what I mean? That'd be the death of your goddamn stream right
Yeah, yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah.
So it's like if you can't be 100, man, you shouldn't even do it. You shouldn't. Like even like you said, even if you're having a bad day, like if you're dealing with some real life shit, like it's okay to take a day off. But at the same
Yeah.
token, be mindful of that because it can become easy to be like, yeah, I don't really feel like streaming today. I don't feel like streaming today. Next thing you know, you haven't streamed in weeks, and you're like, oh shit.
Yeah, and I did that once, and I definitely like when I came back, I felt it because my stream was three or four people,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like that. It was like I had my birthday stream. I kind of went over to Vancouver and went and did some stuff on the island and kind of just hung out.
Mm-hmm.
And so like that was like a week I took off, and then like the next week and a half, I was like, I don't feel like streaming, and I just
Mm-hmm.
didn't.
Yep.
And then when I finally came back to it, I was like, I didn't know how to open cards. I didn't know how to,
Yep.
like I wasn't talking to people. I wasn't like it just wasn't flowing, and that was what it was. Just like I just kind of, it's tempting to just relax, and you don't realize how many days you start to miss, and you're just doing your thing.
Right.
And like it's supposed to be fun, and it is fun, but it definitely also feels like work at the same time. When you work all day, like I'm an 8:30 to 4:30 kind of like banker's hours is
Mm-hmm.
what my job is. But then like I start streaming at 6 or either or a little bit before 6, so I have like an hour and a half to do everything, and then I'm streaming, and then when I'm done
Right.
streaming, like sometimes I'll come and hang out and voice chat with you guys, or sometimes it's just like it's bedtime, guys.
Yep.
Like it's a lot, it's tough.
Yep.
So it can be very exhausting, and it is really important to balance it because you don't want it
Yep.
affecting your work, you don't want your work affecting your stream, you don't want
Yep.
either of them affecting your personal life.
Right.
So it's a tightrope. It
Yeah.
definitely is.
Yeah. Definitely. Like I'm pretty fortunate because I'm able to set a schedule that makes it to where streaming twice a week, Thursdays and Sundays, works out perfectly. It's because originally I was doing when I started doing the giveaway thing, I was doing Sundays and Tuesdays. But the problem is those
Mhm.
2 days are because those were my days off. That kind of made sense
Yeah,
to
yeah,
do
yeah.
it, but they were too close together. So then
Yeah.
I literally was like, okay, what day should I do it? And so I went with Thursdays and Sundays, and then I made my schedule work around that at work. And then so I'm kind of like good now. You know what I mean? I could stay up late. I got good. Like I work on Thursdays, but I don't start stream with enough time to where I can go get product if I need it. I can get home, I can get something to eat, get all my stuff set up, and not be stressed out about it. Because for a while there it was, I was rushing home and like I'd like no, I'm like scrambling trying to re-sleeve cards for the hit boxes, and it's just it can be a nightmare. So like you said, finding that balance is super important, and being consistent and setting a schedule can really help that. And I feel like more people should set schedules that don't. If you look at like pretty much every big streamer, they have a set schedule, and they do that to maintain that balance. When you first start, I feel like you really want to just go hard in the paint and stream all day. And I've had conversations with people that are, big streamers now. Well, I mean, way bigger than they were when we had this conversation, we'll say. Um, and they were like, I'm gonna stream every day, and all that. And I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I was like, dude, 2, 3 days a week. That's it. That's all you should be doing to start off with doing what you want to do, and just kind of set a schedule. And he did that, and it's worked out great for him. I just feel like consistency and being genuine are like your two biggest allies when you're trying to be a Twitch streamer. I just can't preach that enough to people. Just consistency. Because like you said, you take a little bit of time off, next thing you know, you forget how to do shit. Like, oh fuck, how do I change the filters? And oh, my camera's not working. What do I do? You know, it's a weird
Um,
thing. All right, so that being said, let's talk a little bit more about you. Growing up, like, did you play any sports or did you have any hobbies you were super into?
honestly, I went through like a car phase, kind of like high school, university, and stuff. I've
Hmm.
always liked small, fast cars,
Okay,
but
that's smart.
never. And it was always like all-wheel drive sleek. I had a Eagle Talon.
Okay.
Um, I had a '74 Duster with a 360 in it at one point. That was kind of
Okay.
like I saved up all my money from work
Hmm.
and bought it myself. I was pretty proud of.
Nice.
Um, Now I drive like a Q50. Like I just like
Okay.
small fast cars, but it doesn't like I'm not going out and buying a Corvette or going out and buying
Right.
like a two-seater race car. Like that's not my thing, but
I
I
mean,
do like to,
Q50,
get
your
around.
Q50's no joke though. The Infinity?
Yeah, I do have the 3.7 out of the 370Z in it, so
Uh-huh.
it's pretty down fast, but
Yeah, it'll move.
at least it has four doors.
Yeah, exactly. They're nice cars though. My coworker had one that he had like slammed and put some
Oh
baller
yeah.
wheels on, and I was like, oof, oof.
But for the most part, honestly, like I've always been a video game person. I've always
Mhm,
like I like anime. Most of the video games I play are like JRPG. I've been playing since the early days of Nintendo,
mhm,
like Final Fantasy, Dragon Warrior, like all the JRPG series that are still around today.
mhm.
And PlayStation, PS2, PS3, PS4. I mean, I've always been a gamer, but I've never been the COD guy. I've never been like a battle royale person. Like I'm generally playing games that have storyline, that have something to do or build, or I
Right,
play
right.
lots of like simulation or like settlement building or survival crafting. I play that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
Um, like where you're actually like doing something and making stuff. I've never
Right,
taken to like the online multiplayer Call of Duty. I played a lot of it, but
right,
it never grabbed me and pulled me in or anything like that.
right. No, that makes sense. I always feel I'm weird because I don't play like first person shooters or I don't play Fortnite. Like
I
all
I think there's a lot of people, but it's just like a lot of those things like fork knife, but
mhm,
like Warzone, like all of those things that they've become so big,
mhm.
PUBG, that they're so prevalent that I think it does feel weird if you're not interested in that kind of stuff. But I think there's a
Right,
huge, you know, group of gamers that's just not their thing. That's not why they're playing games. They're playing stuff with storylines or stuff with a purpose or building
right,
things or
right,
where you're keeping it's something that keeps your mind going.
right,
I think there's a lot of people that is their primary interest, but the other things are just so big in gaming now, and they take up such a big space, and esports pushes them even harder. That it seems like if you don't play Fortnite, that like you don't game, but
right.
I just like who cares? For me, when I look at those games, like they're fun to play, they're fun to go in and play a match and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But you don't get anything. You
Right,
don't build anything. You don't level up your character. You don't anything that you win or you get or you it's all just skins or
right,
cosmetics or like it doesn't act. You're not building anything
right,
other than a KD ratio,
right.
and that to me is just like I don't care what my KD ratio is because that's not why I'm playing the game.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, I'd get asked that by people when I play Grand Theft Auto. Like they'd kill me like 3 times while I'm like trying to do like a mission to like make money so I can buy cars. And they're like, "Oh, what's your KD? What's your Bro, I don't care. I don't even know how to find that out. Like I don't care. Like
Yeah,
I just want to enjoy myself. Like
yeah,
yeah, chasing numbers, man. Chasing KD is crazy to me. I mean, some people are into it, but it ain't me.
yeah. It's if that's what someone enjoys, absolutely. Am
Right.
I going to change what I play because that's a big thing? No,
Hmm.
it has never affected me that way. Call of Duty has never affected me that way.
Right.
I would much rather like throw on a pixel game from the Super Nintendo
Right.
era because that it gives you something, a storyline, it gives
Hmm.
you artwork, it gives you something visual. It's an
Right. Right.
experience. And for me, gaming, I think needs to be an experience and not
Mhm.
just something you're doing because you're not doing anything else. And that's
Right.
how I feel when I play battle royale games and that kind of stuff. I feel like it's just something I'm doing because I'm not doing anything else right now.
Gotcha. Do you follow any sports at all?
You know, I do not follow any sports. I have enough tertiary knowledge of sports because my best friend for years is an like just an uber sports guy. He's like a Patriots fan, he's a New Jersey Devils fan, and he watches like every game.
Mhm.
And so when I'm hanging out with him, there would always be hockey on the TV or football on the TV, and he
Right.
watches CFL and NFL, and and there's always sports involved. I think the only thing that he's not interested in would be soccer.
Right.
And so because of that, yes, I know how sports works. I know plenty about sports. I don't know any current athletes, but I know enough about like famous athletes that I know who they are. When I was younger, I watched a lot of Formula One myself. I loved Formula One.
Okay.
Never got into stock cars, but I loved watching Formula One, and that was kind of for me, the Formula One era was like Villeneuve, Grant Hill, Schumacher. Like that was when
Right.
I was watching Formula One, which I think other than what's been going on, that was the peak of Formula One because it was the drivers and not the cars. And now I feel like it's the
Right.
cars and not the drivers. So that's my personal opinion on Formula One.
Yeah. No, I agree with that opinion, honestly. It seems like that's all it's become anymore. And yeah, I feel like the heyday of Formula One has come and gone, unfortunately. I think that's kind of one of the reasons I kind of lean into drifting so heavily now, especially with um, the professional series growing to the point where, Formula D's been around for 20 years now,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
you have all these other big series all over the planet now, and it's almost going to be, in my opinion, could become like the new Formula One or NASCAR, just because it's worldwide, it's fun, like anyone could do it with like a small amount of money as entry just to get good at it because you like it.
yeah. It's a cool sport because you don't have to have an uber powerful car.
Right.
You don't even have to have a great car. You
Mm-mm.
have to have a car that will let go
Hmm.
and is balanced in weight.
Yep. Yep.
And beyond that,
Yep.
like
Welded
it's the
diff.
dri- it's the drivers.
Yeah.
Beyond that, it's the drivers. It's
It's a
like
driver sport.
can you keep this shit on the road the whole
Mm-hmm.
time
Yep.
without like hitting the other guy or hitting the wall?
Yep.
Because that's what you got to do.
Yeah. It's like.
I was, I watched the Initial D anime a lot
Hmm.
when kind of around the time of like Fast and Furious becoming popular and all of the import car mags becoming popular.
Right.
That was kind of around the same time that Formula D and that were really just getting started. Because for me, like when I graduated, that's like 2000, so that was a while ago.
Right. Right.
So that was kind of the time that I was getting into cars because really, like as I was leaving high school,
Yep.
Fast and the Furious, imports, all of those
Yep.
things, right-hand drives,
Yep.
all that stuff, and drifting kind of came along with it because it just followed like the Japanese
Yep.
like tuning scene at the same time. Because
Yep.
in Japan, it was the same scene. It wasn't a different
Right.
scene, right?
Right.
Um, so I was always interested in drifting, but for me, I grew up in the prairies. There was no drifting there. I wasn't, I didn't grow up on the West Coast.
Right.
There wasn't any of that available. And they're doing like dirt track racing and stock car racing. Like that's what's big in the prairies. So that
Right.
kind of stuff wasn't around. So there wasn't anyone who was going to build a drift car, and I wasn't going to build a drift car. But
Right.
I was like, that is just the coolest thing.
Yeah.
Like watching two cars come around a corner and they're just like a fraction of an inch away from each other, and you're like,
Yeah.
holy shit.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
And
fun.
understanding that technically neither of them are controlling that car at the moment. Like it is just going sideways, and they were going sideways at the exact same speed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, the beautiful thing about it is it's kind of gives me the same thing that like skateboarding gives you, which is it's a sport, but it's more of an individual sport than it is a team sport in the fact that like you determine the win on your own.
Mm.
Like your skill, your mindset is what is going to win this. It's not the car. I mean, any good drifter can get in any decent car and be competitive. It's
Hmm.
because of the skill of the driver. And the other thing is there is no perfect driver. everyone that's good at drifting crashes. It doesn't matter how long they've been drifting. Everyone breaks shit. Everyone loses. Everyone, if you're really good, generally you'll win quite often or do pretty well in the rankings, and it's because of just being consistent. And it's like the same thing with skateboarding. Like there was just the thing at Ebisu, where the foreigners come in to have a big Matsuri event, and what a lot of different people there kept saying is like, this feels like going to the skate park. This doesn't feel
Okay,
like
yeah.
we're at the track. It's like skate park vibes. Like, yo, you're
Hmm.
ready to go? You ready to go? All right, let's go shred. And then they just go
Yeah,
out
yeah.
and shred, and it's like it kind of feels like a skate park at a drift track versus you go to like a big like a big car event like NASCAR or Formula One, and you got movie stars and all this money
Yeah,
everywhere,
yeah,
and it's,
yeah, yeah.
you know what I mean? And that is the shit that makes me enjoy it so much, is like all the drifters. They're like, I've drifted on little tracks with guys who are professionals in their like shitty cars, just having
Hmm.
fun. You know what I mean? It's just so fucking fun. You just don't want to stop doing it. You know?
Yeah. I remember like one of the very first drifting articles I read, like again, that was years ago.
Hmm.
They were like showing all these pictures of the drift, and they were like talking to the guy, and really the whole point of the whole the conversation they had or the interview they had was um because they were comparing themselves to the tuner scene,
Hmm.
because at that time it was, the tuner
Hmm.
scene was huge with body kits and flares and all
The
of that
nope,
stuff.
the Nopey era is what I call
Yeah.
it.
And then you had the drifter guys, and he's like, "Oh yeah, like we zip tie the bumpers so they can just tear right off the car,
Hmm.
and like anywhere we have bumps, we have body colored tape, and we just put it over the, put it over the tear, the cut, or the
Yep.
break,
Yep.
and it's just body colored fucking duct tape,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
and it was just, and it's like, because like we we have a look for our car, but we're gonna break the shit out of that thing, like we're
Hmm.
we're
Yep.
gonna hit stuff. We're gonna tear off bumpers. We're gonna, ding stuff.
Oh
We're gonna
yeah.
hit the car, hit the tires,
Bust
and it
thousands of
was just,
dollars worth of
yeah,
wheels.
yeah. And they're just like, and like, why would we? We can't have a molded body kit or
Hmm.
permanent fasteners or make it look nice, because that shit's
Mm-mm.
gonna get torn off in 20 minutes.
Yep.
Like, even if I don't go off the track, that shit's gonna tear off. It's
Hmm.
just, and it's just like the different way that they looked at it compared to like the tuners, and like, my beautiful car can't be touched, and
Yeah.
no, I can't drive this because it'll bottom out, that kind of thing. And these guys are just beating the shit out of their cars.
Yeah. What was your favorite car that you had that like, and like, did you do a lot of like your own like car building stuff too?
So I'm inclined enough that anything I needed to do without like, unless it was like, rebuilding an engine or doing an engine, like anything like that was out of my hands. But I was inclined enough that I could do like my own turbo boosters and boost controllers, and
Yeah.
and go through it enough. My dad did muscle cars when he was younger, so I kind of like, I worked on vehicles with him when I was younger, and then as I got older, he kind of like stopped doing that kind of stuff. But I had
Right.
developed enough of a skill that I knew what I was looking at, and I knew what the parts were, and I could pull out my manual, find the air hoses I need,
Right.
find the electrical I need. So I did that kind of stuff myself. I did like gauges and boost controllers and,
Right.
headlight swaps and anything that was super easy. But
Right.
once it got into like the real mechanical stuff, that was,
Right.
I wasn't doing that. And like, I helped my dad rebuild an engine, but honestly, like, then I knew from that, I was like, I don't even want to do this. I don't
Right.
want to get this deep into the
Right.
car. I want to drive it. I want to, I want to pick what goes in it, but I'm not building it. It's not something that was for me.
Right. So then, what would you say was your favorite car out of all of them?
My favorite car was definitely, um it's been years now, but I think it's called a GT4. It's the Japanese Celica all-wheel drive turbo
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
use for rally,
Yeah.
but it's like the rally version.
Hmm.
Um I got one of those kind of just right after high school,
Right.
maybe 3 or 4 years after high school,
Hmm.
and that thing just frickin' tore.
And that was a turbo
Absolutely.
model too, right?
Yeah, it's a turbo, and I think, I can't remember. It's like the GT36 engine or something. Again, it's been a long time since I really paid a lot of attention to cars,
Yeah.
but it was a good engine. It was a good transmission. It was all-wheel drive, so you could do
Hmm.
whatever you wanted with it,
Right.
and it was just fast as fuck because it was like there was no weight to that car.
Yeah. Those cars are hard to find now. I have a buddy that I think he has like three of them, and that's like his
Yeah,
go-to drag car is one of those, and it's just like they're crazy.
yeah. They make a lot of the all-wheel drive cars, like those small import all-wheel drive cars, they made great drag cars. They just had shitty transmissions, most of
Yeah.
them.
Yep. Yep. Okay. Well, I guess that's all the regular stuff I got, and we just get into the lightning round.
Yeah, sure.
So for those of you that may or may not know, the lightning round is basically there's supposed to be this or that, yes or no answers. But I usually dig a little deeper, and it's the meme is that it's called the lightning round, but it's not very quick. It's not very fast at all or quick.
Low lightning.
Yeah, what exactly? It's not very lightning at all. So, but question number one, is the Earth round or flat?
Definitely round.
Okay. Do you know anyone who thinks the Earth is flat?
I know some people who are so deep in conspiracies that I believe they think that, but I don't think they would say it out loud to me.
Okay, fair enough. Uh, this one I'm curious about. Rap, rock, or country?
Oh, that is just an impossible answer. I listen to just everything.
Okay.
Absolutely everything.
Okay.
My music is mood based for sure.
Mhm.
Absolutely mood based. Driving, it is the loudest, angriest rap you will ever listen to, and it's back like
NWA, Public Enemy.
Oh, I listen to some of that, but when I'm driving, it's more like Walk a Flock of Flame,
Mhm.
fucking Rick Ross, where it's just like, like fuck you, fuck your friends, fuck your mother, fuck what, because that's how I feel when I'm driving. Like,
You're like the dude in Office Space at the beginning of Office Space.
exactly.
Click.
Yeah.
It locks the door.
That's like my driving music. When I'm on stream or I'm in streams, I like just to have like the dance music vibe or mixes and stuff like that, or EDM.
Right.
But I grew up in the prairies. I love country. I listen to tons of country growing up, whether like years ago country or whether it's current. I listen to like old, Hank Williams Jr. All that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Right up to today, and it's. I think music is just like something that connects you to a feeling, and you can just listen to any of it.
Right. That makes sense.
Except Toad Sings. Toad Sings is just the worst thing ever invented. and my stream has discovered it, and it's very unfortunate.
I'm so sorry for your loss.
Yeah. Because Toad cannot sing.
No. It's terrible. Lightning or USB Type-C?
USB Type-C, because fuck Apple.
There you go. Well, that answers the next question, which was Android or iPhone?
iPhone, because it's easier. I don't like it, but it connects to everything in my house.
But you hate the lightning cable.
Because it's stupid. It should never have existed.
Yeah, it's trash. Complete trash.
It should never, ever have been a thing.
Nope.
And USB just does everything Lightning does better for a fraction of the cost. Because it doesn't have to be licensed.
Yep. Okay. I don't know if you even have these up there, but Tampico or Sunny D?
I don't think we have Tampico. Sunny D tastes like orange sugar water.
Yeah.
Probably neither.
Probably neither. Okay, so then, would you say, at breakfast, do you generally want a glass of orange juice or a glass of milk?
Neither.
Neither. Okay.
So I'm definitely a pop guy.
Okay.
I drink a lot of pop. I will wake up with an energy drink. Like.
Oh boy. Okay.
That's kind of my thing. So if I go out drinking, I'm even if I'm going out for breakfast, it's like Coke Zero.
Oh, okay.
It's not like I'm not ordering orange juice or anything like that. It's just not
interesting. Okay.
Doesn't interest me. If I'm drinking juice, so I drink cranberry juice. I love cranberry juice. Like actual cranberry juice, not sugar filled cranberry juice.
Right.
The other one that I drank a lot, and I haven't drank it recently, but I drank it for years, was like the vegetable fruit mixed juices.
Yeah.
And they always like mostly tasted like fruit, but they had like a lot of vegetable pulp in them when you
Right.
bought them. Like it was the kind of thing that you had to actually shake before you like drank it every time.
Right.
But I really enjoyed the flavors. Like I drank lots of it. But that's that's kind of what it is. Like I have a few things that I like,
Hmm.
and like milk and juices and stuff like that in general. Not that
Right.
interested in them.
Okay.
Love ice cream though.
Hell yeah. What's your go-to ice cream?
My go-to ice cream. Um, I actually like a lot of like fruit gelatos and stuff like that, where it's just
Okay.
like a fruit flavor and it's not just like straight ice cream.
Hmm.
Um, when I was a kid, totally Neapolitan ice cream, like the three flavor. And I would take from all like I would scoop from all three flavors into the
Hmm.
bowl. It was like a whole thing. It was like
Yeah.
a you had to have the separate flavors and eat them
Right.
separately.
Right.
I'm like a everything can't like I'm like separate everything on my plate kind of thing. Like that's the type of person I
Gotcha.
am.
Gotcha.
Uh, but they made one for a while, and I got into it because of um, when they started doing the like cherry cheesecake blizzards
Okay.
at
Yep.
Dairy Queen, and
Okay.
then you started seeing like the cheesecake flavored ice cream show up
Hmm.
in stores. Love that shit. It is so unhealthy for you, but I just
Um,
love that shit. It tastes
yeah.
so good.
Yep. Strawberry cheesecake blizzard is my go-to blizzard.
Oh yeah.
God, it's so good. Yeah, but the problem with cheesecake ice cream is they either make it way too sweet because they just blend it all together with a little bit of
Yeah.
cookie. I like the ones where it's like a flavor of ice cream with just chunks of cheesecake in it.
Cheesecake. Yeah,
That's the
yeah.
move. That's the
That's
move.
how it should be. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's when you and not to get into a cheesecake uh, conversation, but that's like that like New York style cheesecake where it's like a white cheesecake and they just
Right.
have a bit of whatever the like if
Right.
it's strawberry cheesecake, it's just a bit of strawberry on top. It's not like a
Right. Right.
strawberry
Right.
mixed into the cheesecake, and those are so much better
Mm-hmm.
than like a strawberry flavored cheesecake that's just like
Right.
all mixed in as the flavor.
Right. Yeah. The only exception to that for me is chocolate cheesecake. I will fuck up some chocolate cheesecake.
See, and I'm not a chocolate person at all. Like I eat chocolate, I
Hmm.
enjoy it, but like I quickly get like tired of chocolate flavor. Um,
Gotcha. Okay.
so if I have like a cake, I'll have a piece, and it'll be like 4 or 5 days. Like I just don't want chocolate.
Yeah.
Um, and it's the same. Like I eat like chocolate covered fruit, and I'm okay with it. Like just those Brook, what are they, Brookside or something? They sell.
Hmm.
They actually have a Canadian flag on them, so I don't even know if you guys have them.
Okay.
But it's just like a piece of fruit that's chocolate covered.
Okay.
They're very good, and I don't get sick of chocolate when I'm eating it that way. But the second I get into like a bakery thing where like the whatever it is mostly chocolate or like a
Right.
chocolate, square or cake or what have, I
Right.
get sick of it very quickly.
Okay. That makes sense.
I'm a candy person. I'm definitely a candy person.
Gotcha. All right. What's your favorite type of candy?
Again, it's a tough question. Uh, if I'm buying like North American candy right now, I'm usually going and buying like the Twin Snakes sweet and sour
Okay.
Haribo candy.
Okay.
Um, I order a lot of
Shout out
Asian
Harbor.
candy. There you go. Yeah,
Shout
but
out
yeah,
Haribo.
they have like sour sneakers, the Twin Snakes, and then the teddy bears are probably the best flavors they have.
Gotcha.
Um, but as far as like other stuff, it's mostly Asian candies. Mostly like
Okay.
it's Asian flavors and sour and either hard or chewy candies.
Okay.
Um,
Like high chews? Do you do a lot of high chew?
so high chews I like them, but for my like what I'm eating is usually more of a um not something that you just go find in the store. You have to go like to an Asian candy store to buy it, kind of thing. It's all
Gotcha.
very much the same, but it's the flavors that I like. Like I like the Ramune soda flavor as opposed to
Hmm.
like a cola flavor. I like their peach flavor is also just a little different than ours.
Hmm.
Um, even their cola flavor is a little different than ours. It's not quite so strong,
Right.
and I just enjoy it. Like the melon flavor, that's like honeydew melon, and whereas
Right.
we like it's always watermelon for us, and
Right.
it's a
Right.
melon. It's just different flavors that I enjoy they don't overpower everything.
Hmm.
And when it comes to like sour, like everything is sour.
Hmm.
And
Yep.
it's just enjoyable. And they make the flavor sour as opposed to just like putting a bunch of white acid on the outside, which is what you kind of basically find in North American candy now.
Right.
a lot of the sours is just like white stuff on the outside, and that's why it's sour.
Right. Well, yeah. Once you get past that part, then it's just like a cough drop.
Yeah,
Like, it's kind of dumb. All right. Beer or liquor?
kind of neither.
Kind of
I
neither.
really don't drink often.
Okay.
I'm one of those people, like, I do drink. I'm not saying like I'm not a drinker, but
Right.
for the most part, I will go months without drinking.
Okay.
I'll go and buy like uh recently I've been drinking sour ale, like candy flavored sour ale. It's actually really good.
Okay.
Other than that, if I'm drinking, it's probably gonna be liquor.
Okay.
I like Caesars. I like Long Island iced tea. I like just like a vodka cranberry. I like that type of drink
Okay.
where you're not drinking. You know what Caribou is?
Yep. That's one of my top three, actually.
It's so hard to make now because you have to like replace. Is it the 151 that you have to replace now because they don't make it anymore?
Right.
But that shit does not taste like alcohol, and one glass will just destroy your night.
Yep.
It is so good,
It's
and
so
I
good.
love it. I
Yeah.
love it. That's probably my favorite drink, but it does take a lot of like you have to actually make it and like have it in the
Yep.
fridge.
Yep. But it's so good though. Like for like a
You
good
don't taste
backyard
any of you don't
barbecue.
taste any alcohol in the whole drink,
It's so dangerous, but it's
and there's like 3 shots in every glass.
yeah. You get fucked up off like two glasses and
Yeah,
you're slurring words. Like
yeah,
especially if it's not a lot of time in between.
yeah.
So good
So
though.
that's kind of what I drink. When I'm in China, they drink white liquor, which is
Hmm.
basically rice wine, but it's like 50 to 60% alcohol, and
Okay.
it burns like fire. It's the closest thing you can equate it to is like cheap vodka that burns going down,
Right.
or just like really strong alcohol.
Right.
And it just like you drink it, it burns going down, it just sits there burning the entire meal,
Right.
and it is not enjoyable to drink in any way, shape, or form.
No.
And it's a cultural thing where like you go there, you're eating with them, they will just
Hmm.
keep giving you shots or drinking with you,
Yep.
like all of the men at the table, like
Yep.
it's
Yep.
just what you do, and that's probably why I don't like drinking. Like it's like I don't enjoy this at all. There's nothing good. There's nothing good about this. It just
Like it's like
burns and
no
hurts.
wonder all you guys look like assholes all the time because this is what you do for fun. This is terrible.
Yeah.
This is not good. Like yeah, no, that's why I don't drink sake. Like I drink Japanese whiskey.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't drink sake. And I love so much about Japanese culture in particular. But
Sake is actually, if you get the right sake, it's actually not that bad. There's some sweet
yeah,
sakes, and there's some sakes that are supposed to be warm, and
yeah,
some that are supposed to be cold.
yeah.
Um,
But I've had so many
and they're
bad
not
ones.
super
Ugh.
strong. Like they don't burn.
Yeah.
Sake, like
Hmm.
sake, is so far. Like I think sake is somewhere between 14 and 20%
Yeah.
alcohol.
Yeah.
So like this is just not even like it's not even on the same
No.
spectrum.
No.
It's like even vodka. Most vodkas are not as strong as this, and they're just like that's just what they drink for meals whenever like the families. I don't think they do it
Yeah.
every day, but when we're there, it's like Chinese New Year or something like that. So
Yeah.
every day is like family meals, and it's just like
Right.
every day there's alcohol, and like sometimes there's alcohol at breakfast. And for someone who doesn't drink in general,
Hmm.
like don't give me alcohol for breakfast, please.
That's so funny. Yeah, no, I guess I've just had so much bad sake that I was just like, ugh, I want nothing to do with it. I can't do it. It's just like there's good tequila out there, but I've thrown up enough of it that I don't ever want to even smell tequila again.
Yeah, for me, if I can taste the tequila, it's not the tequila I want.
Nope.
It's
Nope.
not. It's not enjoyable.
Nope. Okay. East Coast or West Coast?
Funny. So I was born in the Maritimes.
Okay.
I now live in the West Coast, and that is a really hard decision to make. If I was to say, just straight coolness factor,
Mm-hmm.
East Coast is cooler.
Okay.
The ocean's angrier. Everything's a rock cliff. There's no beaches. There's
Right.
just the East Coast, especially like I guess would be the northern United States and like Canada's East Coast is very similar to like Ireland, England, like that style of
Mm-hmm.
coast.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas now I live on the West Coast and I have like the beaches 3 minutes away from me, and it's sand beaches on the ocean because it's the Pacific Ocean.
Right. Right.
Uh, if you want a love life, West Coast.
Yeah. Okay.
for sure.
Yeah.
If you want to go see some cool stuff, East Coast is pretty neat.
Yeah.
There's definitely stuff that goes on. Like I grew up, like I was born in St. John, New Brunswick, so that's on the Bay of Fundy. It's the largest tidal bore in the world. It's like 40 feet from high to low tide.
Yeah.
That's cool. Like there's a
Right.
place in St. John, New Brunswick that's called Reversing Falls, and the falls actually flow uphill when the tide reverses.
What?
Like it's just and it's because it's such a large high to low tide.
Right.
And you don't see that on the West Coast for sure. Like
No.
that's like the Pacific Ocean like tidal bore isn't like that.
Right.
So there's like cool stuff that you get to experience and see. But as far as like life, well, I grew up in the prairies and on the East Coast where there's snow. I get snow like once a year, and it's gone within a week now where I live.
Right. Right.
I think you're like the Pacific Northwest, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
probably very similar for you. Like you
Yeah.
might get it like in January, you'll get snow, and then it's gone, and then that's
Yeah.
the only
Yeah.
snow you get for a whole year.
Yeah.
So that I don't think I could ever going back to like living in the prairies or living somewhere that's like heavy snows and cold.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the life is better on the West Coast, but I think there's a lot of stuff to see just in general that the East Coast is just not. It's not the same. Like it's hard to compare the two.
Right. I agree with that. Okay. Windows or Mac?
It's Windows. I honestly can't even get a Mac to function. I don't understand how the fucking operating system works. I don't know what the buttons do.
No. They used to remember when we were kids, they were actually pretty easy to use. Like all the schools had Macs when I was a
Yeah,
kid.
all the schools were Macs, I remember, but like I pick it up now and just nothing does what I think it should do.
No, nothing makes sense. There's like why like do they even only have one button on the mouse and still, or is that still a thing?
I don't think it's a single button mouse, but it's like I think it's like a touchpad, isn't it now, the newest ones?
I have no idea.
Where it's like you're hitting in the spot, but it's just like a touchpad. It's not like a button.
Yeah, none of it makes sense. I haven't had to use one, thankfully, for many, many moons, and I don't ever intend to.
My wife has a Mac, and sometimes she asks me like to fix something, and I'm like, take it to
the
Best
Apple
Buy.
Store. I don't know what to tell
Like,
you.
I don't know, man. Is it anything beyond me like hitting the power button?
Yeah.
Because I can do that. I can make sure the power works.
Right. All right.
No.
Okay. Tupac or Biggie?
Motherfucker, always Tupac.
All right.
Who the fuck would say Biggie?
Hey, Zerg.
Jesus Christ, it's fucking Tupac.
Hey, I like Biggie. I like Tupac too, though. But it's for me. It's a
no,
hard
I'm not
one.
like Biggie. Biggie is good, but I'm not ever gonna say that yeah, you don't rate anyone against Tupac.
No, that's the standard for a lot of people.
Like lyrically, musically,
culturally,
who he was, you can't rate anyone against Tupac.
No. Okay.
Especially if you grew up during that era where
Right.
he was fire and then he died, and like
Right.
when you experience, and then they released that album after he died of like all of his unfinished music and stuff.
Yep.
Like, if you were around during that era, that's not even a question.
No, not even close. Sony, Canon, or Nikon?
Cameras?
Yeah.
I assume you mean.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually had a camera age of my life where I had a very expensive Canon camera and like 10 grand in Canon lenses.
Oh,
Definitely love the Canons.
Okay.
Good product, good customer support. Prices are very high for Canon stuff. Like if you get into like the L lenses and the professional grade stuff, you're spending more money on Canons in general.
Right.
Without getting into like Zeiss lenses and really expensive stuff.
Right.
But I think you get what you pay for. I'm not saying that none of them basically don't do the exact same thing.
Mm-hmm.
But for my use, I always enjoyed using the Canon stuff.
Yeah, I always say like if I'm doing digital, Sony because their sensor technology is crazy, but film definitely Canon. Definitely Canon.
Yeah.
Like it's
for
not
me,
even
it was
close.
the lenses, like the lens quality when it came to Canon is just bar none the better lens quality without getting into super high end lenses.
Right.
And I would happily I'm a like wildlife scenery, like that type of person where I'm trying to frame things.
Right.
And with camera lenses, always ends up looking beautiful, and I don't find that same thing. Like some of the other cameras definitely have like better sensors, or they're easier to use, or they're easier to set up, or
Right.
the settings are very easy. Canon's not easy to use. The cameras, they
Right.
are not simple to use when you start getting into the manual settings. But the end result when you're using that kind of stuff, I find that the Canon lens quality is what made the difference.
Okay.
And of course, that's getting into the L, like the white lenses, which are the L series lenses.
Okay. PlayStation or Xbox?
No, fucking PlayStation, man.
PlayStation. Okay.
Bar none. Bar none.
Bar none. Okay.
Yeah, if you were at all interested in JRPGs in your life, Xbox was a piece of shit. It was basically a brick.
Yeah.
It did nothing because there was like 4 JRPGs released between Xbox and Xbox 360. Whereas on like PS1 and PS2 and PS3, there was like 150 JRPGs released on each console.
Yep.
So that was the big push. Was like for me when I started, it was NES, Super Nintendo, and then N64 had no JRPGs, and they all moved over to Sony and were on the PlayStation. So that's when I moved over to PlayStation. As far as use today, everyone gets all the same games. I just recently started using my Game Pass again because I had stopped using it.
Yeah.
I think the Microsoft Xbox kind of setup is actually a lot better than what Sony's been doing. I don't like that Sony's been blocking a lot of games from cross-platform play because of their rules. There's only been a few games where it's like, I'm glad I have a PS5 because that game came out on PS5.
Right.
But for the most part, like 90% of the games these days, honestly, your computer's the better bet. But
Yeah.
if you have a Game Pass and you're playing on Xbox and computer, it's definitely a better thing. It's an easier thing. It works better in general. It doesn't look stupid. I don't know why they designed the PS5 the way they did.
Yeah, the Series X is just a black rectangle.
Yeah, it's just a rectangle. Yeah,
It's easy.
So I think today it's a different. It's not such a hard line between the two, but over time, growing up, the Sony definitely treated me a lot better than the Xbox. Because really, like the Xbox, there were so few games that were just like other than like Halo or Gears of War. Like there were so few games that it's like I had to have the Xbox to play compared to like all of the JRPGs I had to have the PlayStation to play, and they weren't on computer and they weren't on Xbox.
Right.
So for me, it was a pretty simple question. Like I had to have that.
Makes sense. Okay. The Hub or OnlyFans?
Neither.
Neither. Okay. Fair enough.
Not that like not for any even reason. Like OnlyFans, I think is stupid.
Yeah.
Personally,
Okay.
I don't understand the whole concept of it because like they're like unless you're simping after some like very specific person.
Yeah.
I don't understand OnlyFans because like I can get everything else for free. But it doesn't like have to be the Hub. Like
Right.
there's so it's just everywhere now.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
I think you can get what you want anywhere you want to get it these days.
Yeah. Hell, you can get it on Twitter even.
Yeah,
Right.
and it's like it's free, and you just go looking for what you want. I think find your kink and go find wherever that kink is. Enjoy it.
There you go. That's good advice.
I don't know. I definitely, when it comes to that kind of thing, I'm judgment free. I think people just need to do whatever is there for them.
Right. Football or baseball?
Football.
Football. Do you watch more Canadian or American if you do watch it?
Football?
Mm-hmm.
I actually enjoy the NFL product better than I enjoy the CFL product, mostly because of the rules.
Okay.
The NFL game I find is more entertaining to watch compared to the CFL game.
Okay. Do you have a CFL team?
That I like, or that we have
that's
locally?
like your team, like.
So I grew up in Saskatchewan, so it's of course the Saskatchewan Roughriders, and like it's like a cult thing. Like if you're from Saskatchewan, you like Saskatchewan. Like there's just zero question.
Gotcha. Okay.
It is definitely like that. I think in most of Canada, where most people, it's like whatever team they grew up with or whatever province they grew up in, that's their team, and that is like their team to death.
Right.
It's not really like where you get into like the NHL and the NFL where people just like they like a team. It's the same
Right.
way, but that
Right.
team doesn't have to be like their local team or their
Right.
state's team. You choose your team and you watch it. But when it comes to the CFL, like it's very much like if you're in Saskatchewan, you're a Rough Riders fan. If you're in Manitoba, you're what is it, the Blue Bombers?
Hmm.
Whatever they're like it's like your team. You know, in
Right.
Montreal, it's you're watching the Alouettes. Like that's your team. You're cheering for your team.
Yeah. See, the sports team thing has always been interesting to me because it seems like geography has a lot to do with what team you're into, but it can also change by
Mm-hmm.
geography. So, like for instance, like I grew up a Raiders fan because I'm from the Bay Area and I grew up in like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Sacramento area. But just in the Bay Area, you have the Oakland Raiders and you had the 49ers, but you also had the LA Rams. So it's like there were three different football teams that you could be into and be in
Mm-hmm.
California and not really have beef. But then I moved to Washington State and it's like Seahawks or die. But
Yeah.
you know what I mean? But like if you're in like Seattle, like it's you can be from a different part of the country and have a different team and it's usually not a big deal. Even there's even like certain teams have like their own bars up there, but you know, it's very different culturally. Like coming up here as a Raiders fan, I'm like, oh cool, West Coast, it's all good. No, it's not. Not in
Yeah,
small town.
no,
Small
no,
town
for sure.
Washington, nope. You are Seahawks or you can get the fuck out.
Yeah, definitely. I understand that for sure. Like that is. So my best friend, like we've been friends for I don't even know how long now, like 20 years.
Hmm.
He's a big sports guy, but he was like a die-hard Patriots fan because of
Hmm.
Brady.
Right.
He was a die-hard Jersey fan because of what was his name? It was the French Canadian guy. He was the goalie. Before Price, was it Price? Before Price.
Yeah, I don't know.
I can't remember
NHL.
his name now, but he was like the best goalie.
Okay.
Like, and for years he has like all the records.
Wow. Okay.
Um, and that's why he watched it. And that's the only reason like the Devils were winning was because they had the best goalie in the league, basically,
Right. Right.
at that time. And so when both of them moved on from their respective teams, I watched him watching those teams
Hmm.
and being so disappointed on like Jersey fell apart for like 3 or 4 years, like really.
Right. Right.
You know, Patriots are the Patriots these days. They do what they do.
Right.
But like, he was watching the teams, but like the people that he was watching weren't the people that like were the reason that he originally started watching the teams.
Right. Right.
So for me, it was confusing. I was
Yeah.
like, why didn't you follow Brady if Brady's your favorite player? And like the other guy retired, I was like, why don't you
Hmm.
reassess your favorite team? Like that's because I'm not a sports guy. Like I could
Right.
do that. I could just like, and I don't always have to be a fan of the winning team, but
Right. Right.
the fact that it's that team doesn't make it any better or worse. It doesn't always have to be that team that you're cheering for. It's like maybe some team is an underdog and they're doing really good that year, and it's worth something to cheer for, and it's fun to watch because nobody expected them to get as far as they got or something like that. And it could be the
Right.
same in racing, where an underdog or a rookie, racer is doing way better than they should be doing. And I
Right.
might be a Schumacher fan, and I might be cheering for this guy.
Right.
I'll never cheer for Verstappen, but we'll move on.
Do you still have cable TV?
I haven't had cable TV in easily 20 years.
Oh wow, that's a long time. That's by
Yep.
far the longest.
Basically, like as soon as like before even Netflix existed, I was
Mhm.
like downloading stuff, loading it on like Windows, like the media library, and playing it on my computer and streaming it to my TV.
Okay.
And I was just watching whatever I wanted, whatever series I wanted, whatever. So like people talk about commercials. I haven't seen a commercial in like
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
Like I don't know what they're talking about. Like because I never see local commercials. I just see whatever's streaming commercials or YouTube commercials or whatever.
Right.
But I just like I never understood it. Like when I got into university, um, they had like where you started having like the telecom companies had TV as well. It wasn't
Mhm.
just TV companies.
Mhm.
And so I did that for like a year or two, where you had like the on-demand play on that,
Mhm.
and it was still to the point where it was like you didn't have as much choice as you really wanted. And I was like, yeah, it was half the price of like the $180 satellite bill, but
Right.
it still wasn't what I wanted to watch. And eventually, it was just like, you know what, I'm downloading anime. I'm subscribing to streaming services. like
Right.
very specific streaming services, and they have what I want. It might be, at the end of the day, I might be spending the same amount a month, but at least I know that I'm getting exactly what I want. I'm not getting interrupted by commercials. I'm not getting a bunch of stuff that I don't want, or paying for stuff that I'm never going to watch.
Right.
So, like, it's just been years.
Yeah. Is your go-to YouTube usually for like entertainment?
No, not really. My go-to is like I have some series I watch on Netflix. I watch Crave, which is the Canadian version of HBO now,
Okay.
basically, because we don't have HBO in Canada. It doesn't cross the border.
Okay.
So all the HBO programming is on Crave. I watch Amazon Prime because I have Amazon Prime, so I watch Prime.
Okay.
And they have House, which is one of my favorite series of all time. I love House. It's just
Okay.
the best show ever. I watch some stuff on BritBox for like British crime dramas. They're really good at crime dramas. Like I don't know what to say. Um, so I watch that. I have like a couple anime ones that I have, and
Hmm.
then I have like 2 Chinese ones for watching Chinese dramas.
Okay. Interesting. So mentioned China quite a bit. Do you go to China pretty often?
So my wife is Chinese,
Okay.
so we would generally go back at least once a year.
Okay.
So I started going to China when I was 30. I met my wife when I was like 32, 33.
Hmm.
And I've probably been like, I don't know, somewhere around 15 times
Oh
to
wow.
China
That's
since
a
I was
lot.
30.
Wow. Okay.
So a little
Uh
more than a little more than once a year.
wow, that's quite a bit. Okay.
I haven't like we went back in April of last year, but honestly, like the price to go back now is almost prohibitive.
Yeah.
It went from being like when it was on sale, I could get like $700 tickets, like which is crazy. Return tickets for like $750,
Right.
and now it's like the cheapest. Like if you find a cheap ticket, it's like $2,500 ever since COVID, and it's just not reasonable to like spend 5 grand on tickets
Right.
plus all of your other expenses with traveling, and then doing that like on a regular basis to visit family. That's a
Right.
huge expense that like just starts to drain. Like it's not as easy as it was.
No, not at all. Okay. Spotify or YouTube Music?
YouTube Music.
YouTube Music. Okay.
I tried Spotify for a while, but I just don't like the impermanence of Spotify,
Okay.
where you can't really like can't choose like you it's like, oh, I like this and I want this on my, but it's like Spotify chooses what you have, what's going to
Right.
happen, whereas YouTube Music, I actually really like having YouTube Premium for my stream, because I can pretty much, like, if it's on YouTube, then they can request it on my stream because I use it through the bot.
Hmm.
So when I first started, I was using like not copyrighted music,
Hmm.
and then I was like, I don't really like that. The reason that most people use copyrighted music is for their VODs.
Hmm.
I really couldn't care less about my VODs. My VODs are there if people want to look through them and watch them. They aren't
Right.
there for entertainment purposes in general.
Right.
So my music doesn't get streamed to my VODs. It only
Yeah.
streams to my actual stream.
Same.
So having that like YouTube Premium, like YouTube Music,
Hmm.
without commercials, I would have to say that's the better option.
Yeah.
When you really want people to be able to basically play anything.
Yep. Yep. I agree with
If
that.
if they can find it on YouTube, they can play it on your channel.
Exactly.
Basically.
That makes sense. This one will be interesting. America or Japan?
And
Japan. Okay. Any specific reason?
nope.
Nope.
So it's a weird thing where like I have never really like I have crossed the border in my travels. I have
Hmm.
never really traveled through the states, and it's not for any particular reason. So
Hmm.
because of that, I don't have anything in the states that I'm like particularly attached to, or a memory where I went and visited something.
Right. Right. Right.
So for me, growing up, I played JRPGs, I watched animes, I was interested in Asian culture and Asian history and Asian languages.
Right. Right.
So it's just like it's not a difficult question, simply because that was where my interests have always been.
Gotcha. So now I guess this is kind of a stupid question at this point. Are you fluent in Mandarin or Cantonese then?
So I am not, but I did study Mandarin for about a year.
Okay.
So I can get by. I know what some words are. When I'm listening to people talk, I can generally get what they're talking about. Maybe not the specific conversation, but I know kind of what's going on. Some things is just like I know what they're saying because there's not complicated speech.
Okay.
But it's not an easy language. I'm
Mhm.
not very good at tones, so I can like actually be saying the wrong thing when I say,
Right.
even though it sounds exactly the same, but the tone is different. It's a different
Right.
word
Right.
with a different meaning. So it's a very difficult language. It's not easy to learn. You're definitely either going to learn to speak it. You're not going to learn to write it in general. You're going to
Right.
learn some symbols that are like basic symbols, and you'll know what they are.
Mhm.
But like that's like 50 symbols out of 2,500 symbols,
Wow.
or like the greater like Japanese, I think caps out at about 2,500 or 3,000 or something like that.
Mhm.
Chinese symbols actually cap out at around 10,000.
Mhm.
So it's a language where nobody, like even Chinese people, don't know all of those symbols.
Right.
I think they're required to know like around 5,000 for like professional like like being able to read and stuff like that. But it's definitely like that would be years and years and years of study.
Wow. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. I guess I never really thought of it like that.
And I think what really makes it a more difficult language is the tones. Whereas like in like we'll use Japanese for example.
Mhm.
Um, they don't speak with tones.
Mhm.
So when you're saying a word, it only means that thing.
Right.
They can use the word to mean other things, but it's always the syllabary is the same. Like those
Mhm.
sounds are the same; they mean that thing. Whereas, like if you accidentally use the wrong tone in Chinese, you change the word entirely. It's either not a word or you just said something totally wrong, and all it is like the pitch of your voice has
Right.
now changed the meaning of the word.
That's
And so, in
crazy.
certain Asian languages, they don't use tone, and I think those are much easier to learn, such as Japanese, because really you're just trying to learn a language. It's like when you learn French, Italian,
Right.
whatever. If you're just learning the words, you can say it with an accent, but it's still the same word.
Right.
In Chinese, if you say it with an accent, you're saying something totally different.
Right. No, that makes a lot of sense. Okay. This is another one that's going to be interesting. Pizza or tacos?
Motherfucker.
You thought this was going to
Okay.
be easy?
If you, man, and I'm not gonna say taco pizza.
Yeah, no,
Um,
that's doesn't
no,
work.
if you're talking like legitimate tacos, it's
Mm.
fucking tacos.
Okay. Okay.
100%. I actually this week I traveled to the other side of the island. Like Vancouver Island, basically everything is on the eastern coast
Mhm.
of Vancouver Island, and then there's some communities on the western coast. But you basically have to drive through the mountains to get there. It's like a
Right.
3 hour. It's like a 3 hour drive that's only like 100 kilometers or like 70 miles or 60 miles or something like that. Like
Right.
it's a very short drive, but it's very long because you're in the mountains and it's just a fucking shit show.
Right.
But we went out there, and this one town that's like a holiday town. Like
Mhm.
everyone there is foreign or traveling, or like that's the only reason you go to that town.
Mhm.
It's really the only reason you go to the west side of the island. There's nothing out
Right.
there. They have this food truck called because the town is called Tofino,
Mhm.
and it's a taco truck, and it's Taco Fino,
Mhm.
and it's literally, if you look it up, it's the highest rated restaurant in this like 5-star restaurant town is this fucking taco truck.
That's
And
hilarious.
I've been out here for like 3 years and never had it. And I went out there and I took one of my guys that I was training out there with me. And I was like, you know what? We're going to go have tacos for lunch. Like, we could
Mhm.
just drive back, but I don't care. We're early. We're
Mhm.
going to take an hour. We're going to go to this other town. We're going to have these fucking tacos. I went there.
Yeah.
And so, like, he had like a fish, a beef, and a pork.
Mhm.
I had like 2 fish and a crispy chicken one.
Mhm.
And they just like mounded everything on top of the tacos, even though they were like your normal like 6-inch shells.
Right. Right.
And it was so fucking good. It was ridiculous. And like I've never had a pizza in my life where I was like, it was so fucking good. Like
Yeah.
pizza's good. I love pizza. I eat pizza all the time.
Yeah.
And I've had some really good pizzas, but I've never like finished a meal and been like, if I could eat more, I would.
Right. Right.
But I physically cannot eat any more of this food right now.
Okay. That makes
So
sense.
that's it's definitely tacos. Tacos are always going to be a winner.
Okay. Uh, DC or Marvel?
Marvel.
Marvel. Who's your go-to character?
Ooh, that is tough. I'm not a huge fan of like the mainstream Marvel universe.
Okay.
When I collected comic books when I was younger, I actually collected them for a number of years.
Hmm.
I was always a big Thor guy,
Hmm.
always. Even like the on Thor's planet, like ancient like Thor's planet, even though it was technologically advanced, everything looked like really into the Thor stuff,
Right.
like all the storylines and everything. There was another one that came out. I can't remember. I think it was called Sleepwalker or something. It
Hmm.
was from when I was really young, and it was basically like he was a superhero, but basically he was a nightmare creature. So he was good and bad at the same time, and he
Hmm.
always like helped people out, but he was basically a nightmare.
Weird. Okay.
And that was like when I was young, it was probably around for like 3 or 4 years. It wasn't like it didn't take off, but it was a cool one.
Hmm.
If I were to choose my favorite of all time, and it angers me so much that they have never really, and I don't know how they would. It would be very difficult to do without having like an entire CG show.
Hmm.
Is Galactus
Ooh.
the concept of of the Planet Eater?
Hmm.
The fucking Planet Eater? He literally roams through space looking for planets to feed on because that's the
Hmm.
only way he can like function and sustain himself.
Yeah.
And like his home base is basically just a giant mechanical planet.
Right.
And then like the Silver Surfer, he enslaved the Silver Surfer to find planets for him, and that's how
Yep.
the Silver Surfer theoretically originally ended up on Earth.
Hmm.
Was him looking for planets. That would be such a cool thing for them to adapt into like the MCU that
Yeah.
isn't just fucking Avengers.
Right. Yeah, I know. That's a complaint of mine. I have a few complaints about the whole MCU thing. Like my
Loki's
probably
awesome.
Loki's great.
All the
Uh,
series were so good, but
yeah,
like the movies,
the movies
it,
are.
it, it just like as time went on with the movies, I felt like they just kept going down and down and down. You go back and you watch like the early Iron Man movies.
The first
Um,
Avengers movie. Remember how good that shit was when it
the
came
first
out?
Avengers movie.
Fuck.
But and I think you're right. Like Cold War was good.
Hmm.
The Cold no Winter Soldier.
Winter's
Winter
yeah.
Soldier was good, and
Civil
then right
War.
from
Civil
so
War.
and then right from there it just started going downhill.
Yeah, I think that it became
And
more about money at that point.
I don't even think I finished watching Infinity Wars because I collected the Infinity Wars comic books,
Hmm.
and they are so different than the Infinity Wars movies that it's not even worth paying attention to.
Right.
I just felt that I would be disappointed,
Hmm.
like heavily disappointed by the Civil War stuff, or sorry,
Yeah.
the Infinity War stuff,
Yeah.
because it was cool. So when you collected the like the Infinity War back
Hmm.
then, it was spread across like 6 different comic books.
Right.
And so you had to get the Infinity War from each comic series to actually
Yep.
read through the Infinity War. And they did that a lot back then with comic
Yep.
books, where it was like you'd have the X-Men and the Avengers, and it would be all these, and the
Hmm.
whole story would go across all of them.
Yep.
If you read the story and then it's like it's basically Iron Man and Thanos. Like that's the Infinity. Like
Yep.
I lost interest in it so quickly because it just was. I felt like Thanos was there for Thanos' sake, and they just wanted to have an excuse to have the Infinity Gauntlet in the movies,
Yep.
and they wanted to have the snap. Like it was like they were just trying to force something to be part of the universe because that was their vision of it. But that whole arc wasn't even a big arc in the stories.
Right.
Like
Y-
the Infinity War happened and then it was over and then technically it never happened
Yep.
and they moved on and there was a
Yeah.
lot of really cool things that they did like cuz like the Infinity War I would have been maybe in my early teens when
Yeah.
the original Infinity War was in the comic books.
Yeah.
Um and they had like the X-Men and X Factor crossovers and stuff.
Hmm.
Like there's so much going on in Marvel that they could have done.
Yeah.
And yes, I get that like Iron Man like blew up, so they were going to focus on Iron Man for that entire, until the end of the Infinity War.
Right. Right.
I get that, but that is not the like basically you could have called it the Iron Man cinematic universe. It was not the
Right.
Marvel cinematic universe.
Right.
And now I don't think they know where to go.
No, I think they're kind of lost because they've. I mean, one thing that Marvel's always done is always kept trying to reinvent the wheel. How do we take this thing that worked and then like remold it into something new, but it's still the same thing, and try to rekindle what people had. That's why you have so many different iterations of like the X-Men. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Different all these different stages and all these different versions. And I feel like That's kind of what they're trying to do with the
They
Marvel.
rebooted X-Men like 5 times.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And it's like, I think with the Marvel stuff is like they were just throwing stuff at the wall to see what would stick. Plus, you had the fact that like Sony owned some IP, Fox
Yeah,
owned
yeah.
IP, and
Sony had some of the Spider-Man stuff. Fox had
X-Men,
X-Men, right? Yeah.
X-Men, Daredevil, stuff like that. And yeah, and so things were like broken out into different directions. They can't just do the stuff they want to do once Disney bought Marvel, and then once Disney bought Marvel, then they had the money to pull some of
Then
these
they
other
had,
IPs
and
in.
they have the Disney problem, and I think
Yep.
Disney's problem is that that's how they work with
Yep.
IPs.
Yep.
Is that they want to churn that IP every year and earn a certain amount of money from that IP every year,
Yep.
or it's a useless IP. And
Exactly.
and like everyone knew what was going to happen to Marvel. Like they have made some amazing stuff.
Yep.
But we all saw it happen with Star Wars, and it's Star
Mhm.
Wars. We have the Mandalorian. We have some
Yep.
crazy shit with Star Wars.
Yep.
But they like fucked up Star Wars royally when they
Yeah.
took it over.
Yep.
Because they want a movie every 2 years. They want
Yep.
this much profit. They want series, so there's ongoing. Because
Mhm.
and I love Disney. I'm not like I still watch Disney cartoons. I watch I love Disney, but they are a profit machine,
Mhm.
and they're very similar to Microsoft and Apple. They
Mhm.
have a culture and they
Mhm.
have a theory of how they do business.
Yep.
And when you watch them buy an IP, that is exactly what that IP will turn into. Is
Yep.
they don't really keep anything from the before time of that IP. Like there is no trace of George Lucas left anymore at all.
No, I mean the fact that Dave Filoni just took over as COO or CCO or whatever, Chief Creative Officer,
Yeah,
CCO.
I saw that last week. Or
There's a
something.
glimmer of
Is
hope,
that
but that's
right?
what they keep doing. They keep giving us these little glimmers of hope. Like they made
Yeah.
a Moon Knight show. That was cool. Never thought I'd see that. You know.
Yeah.
Netflix
And it was
Punisher.
one of those things where everyone was like, "Who the fuck is Moon Knight?"
Right. And I'm like, yes.
The Punisher was so cool. I grew
Yep.
up with like the Punisher war journals, the
Mhm.
Punisher, the fucking Punisher Armory comic books that just like
Mhm.
all it was a book of his cool ass guns.
Yep.
And it was like the whole series was just the Punisher Armory, and you could just look at all the guns that were ever in his comics.
Yep. But it's
That
like
shit was wild.
right, and they just like Disney just once in a while they just get there this little glimmer of hope, like, oh, we're working on a new Daredevil because you guys like the Daredevil Netflix so much. But in the meantime, here's the Marvels. It's like fucking cocksucker, you know what I mean? And like Secret Invasion got a lot of hate, but I thought it was actually pretty decent for what it was. But again, it's like, but then they'll do shit to piss you off. It's like one thing they need to stop doing. This has been a pet peeve of mine for a long time. Disney, stop making one actor different characters in the MCU because people will argue that no, this person is actually Captain America and Human Torch. They've done it with a bunch of different actors. Stop doing that, please, and thanks.
I actually, and it's us. It's not even them.
Mm-hmm.
It's us associating a character with an actor.
Yep.
And that is who he is. And so for me, Hugh Laurie,
mm-hmm.
he was House.
Mm-hmm.
He will always be House to me.
Right.
He did a few shows where he had similar characters to House. It was a very similar theory.
Mm-hmm.
But if you go back and watch like a little bit of Fry and Laurie, which is Stephen Fry and Hugh Laurie, and
Mm-hmm.
they're like sketch comedy in England,
right?
It's like I'm not even watching the same person.
Right.
It's so distracting that I'm not even watching the same person. And for me, like I'm a big Doctor Who fan.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I see Doctor Who actors in roles that are not Doctor Who, like that's fucking Doctor Who. I cannot picture him in any way.
Right.
Like David Tennant, I can't picture him as anyone other than Doctor Who.
Right.
It's so difficult. Matt, I can't remember his last name, but the Doctor Who after it, it's like that's Doctor. If I've seen him, he played King Philip in the stupid what is that stupid royalty thing on Netflix?
Oh, the
about the
Royals? Is that what it's called?
No.
I don't know. I don't watch that shit. So
But it's basically like the entire life of Queen Elizabeth, and it was like a
Oh,
series.
gotcha.
It's like 5 or 6. The Crown. It's called The Crown. I think.
Oh, gotcha.
But like the first person who played King Philip when he was young was a
Mhm.
Doctor Who actor, and like the entire
Oh.
time I was watching it, it was fucking Doctor Who.
You're like, why is Doctor Who the king right now? I'm confused.
Yeah, and so it is us that that, and I feel sorry for actors that that's what happens to them, because like we shouldn't view it that way. Like whatever their role is their role.
Right.
But we attach an actor to a role, and it's hard for us to adapt to them, and especially if it's within the same world.
Right.
It's very difficult for us to adjust to them being a different character.
No, that makes sense. Okay. So I only got a couple more questions. This one, I guess, because you go to China so much, I'm curious to see. Ramen or pho?
Neither of those are Chinese.
Yeah, I know. I didn't say they were.
Okay.
But because you go to China a lot, it's
Um,
like you have Vietnamese or you have Japanese. Which one do you go with?
It's funny. My brother-in-law is actually Vietnamese.
Okay.
And he had a Vietnamese restaurant. I don't like
Okay.
pho. I find it very boring.
Okay. That's fair. It's pretty
I
simple.
find the flavor like Vietnamese. I'm not going to try and pronounce it correctly, but I think I'm reasonably. There's bún bò, which
Mhm.
is a soup.
Mhm.
It's a beef soup. It's very strong flavored. It is probably the best soup that you can eat that's Vietnamese soup. I
Okay.
love it.
Okay.
You go from that to like eating pho. It's
Mhm.
like pho is just boring. There's nothing like there's no flavor. Like it's just not. I don't enjoy pho.
Okay.
Ramen. Love ramen, but
Mhm.
it needs to be some very very good quality ramen.
Right.
Ramen is one of those things that if you don't eat good quality ramen, you might as well just go buy some Ichiban, because it's like it's
Yep.
it's basically the same texture and quality and flavor. It's not there's nothing special about it. If you go to like a really high end ramen bar,
Mhm.
you spend $30 on a bowl of ramen and it's
Mhm.
fancy and they're using the right kind of noodles. They cook the ramen like to the chewiness that you want. Like it's
Right. Right.
adapted to you. It's just a whole different experience that is just an amazing
Yeah.
flavor.
No,
Um, I
I agree.
I personally prefer Chinese noodle soups over either of those,
Mhm.
but I'm a strong flavor person.
Mhm.
Like when I eat things, I want those flavors to be strong.
Mhm.
And the Chinese flavors, they're very good at being extremely like in your face and strong.
Okay. So then, what would your go-to Chinese noodle dish be then?
Luosifen.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah,
That makes
snail
sense.
noodles, absolutely snail noodles. Like I can eat snail noodles every day of the week and just feel sorry for the people around me who have to smell it. Even my wife, who's Chinese, like it's a funny thing because it's like, hey, tell me what word would you use to describe how snail noodles smell? And her first answer is always shit.
I love it.
Um, it's
I
such
love
a
it.
strong, off-putting smell
Mhm.
that, and the food tastes nothing like it. It's the same as stinky tofu.
Right.
Stinky tofu smells like fucking garbage, like
Right.
literal like garbage that's been sitting in the sun all day,
Yeah.
or like an open sewer grate. Like that is how it
Yeah. It's
smells.
terrible.
It tastes fucking amazing. And there's a whole group of foods in China that are called like stinky dishes
Mhm.
that are like the smell is so off-putting and disgusting it could like knock you out.
Right.
And the flavor is so good.
Yeah.
And like if you cook snail noodles, your whole house smells like that for like 3 days. It's horrible.
Yeah.
But like for that like 30 minutes that you're eating that bowl of noodles, that shit's the best thing you could ever have.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Okay. So the last question is about burgers.
Oh.
Shake Shack, Five Guys, or In and Out?
So I don't think we even have Shake Shack or In and Out in Canada.
I don't think you do either.
Shake Shack is good.
Yeah.
In and Out I've just never had. I couldn't say anything about In and
Okay.
Out. I've heard. So Five Guys we do have. We have a Five Guys in Vancouver. And Five
Okay.
Guys is pretty good.
Okay.
There's a lot of burgers that I've had that are probably better than all three of those. But
Yeah.
if I had to choose from those, knowing that I've never had In and Out, so I can't say I'm
Yeah.
not going to choose In and Out because I've just never had it. I
Okay.
would probably say Five Guys.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. What's your
And also the Shake Shack, like the only Shake Shack that I've ever really had was in China because they have Shake Shacks there.
Oh,
But I don't know
I
if
didn't
we
know
have
that.
Shake Shacks in Canada.
Yeah, I don't know if you do
I've
either.
I've never seen one. I've seen Five Guys.
Yeah.
I have not seen a Shake Shack. I've never really been to Toronto a lot, so there could be some stuff in Toronto that like
Yeah.
is like small.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's like one or two stores that we do have, but I don't know
Yeah, I know we recently got Shake Shack in Washington. There's a couple up by Seattle, like one north of Seattle, but I haven't gone yet. I need to though.
I
Um,
really like we have like a bin four burger here. I like places that are like really burger specific, and that's what you're ordering.
right, right.
Um, I'm not a huge like I eat fries, of course, but like I will order two burgers instead of a burger and fries.
Yeah, same, same.
Um, so I will go to like burger joints as opposed to like a Shake Shack or an In and Out or a
Right,
or a Five Guys, where I'm like I'm just going there for that burger because I want that burger.
right. Do you have like a typical like style burger that you go to? Like a double with cheese with bacon or anything, or do
So
you like?
I do two things. If it's the first time I've ever been there,
Hmm.
I will always order their biggest, like messiest, whatever like their like $20 to $30 like whatever their big burger is, right? I will always do that the first time I'm there,
Okay.
and I do not cut burgers. I refuse to fucking cut burgers.
Hmm.
I will eat that thing. It will drip down my hands. It's just
Yep.
an experience.
Right.
And for me, like I would go when I was in the prairies. Like I'm an insurance adjuster.
Hmm.
So a lot of my job was driving to all these small towns
Hmm.
and looking at like back then it was damaged vehicles. It was when I first
Right.
started my career.
Right.
So I would go to all these small towns, and then I would go to the diners in these small, like anywhere from 200 to like 3,000 people towns,
Gotcha.
in general. And that's what I would go like to the diner. I would order whatever their burger is, and like they were all so cool. Like some burgers had like it'd have like the ham and egg on top. Some
Right.
burgers would have like bacon and sausage and gravy on top. Like it was just all this like it's just
Right.
that's their thing. That's their burger for their joint, right?
Right.
And so that's when I started doing it. I'd always order like that big messy burger and just like go to town on it.
Right.
And but when I will go back, I'll find a burger I like, and it's usually that's always the burger I eat. I'm a big fan of either sirloin or wagyu beef in the burger. I'm a big fan of while I like cheddar and bacon on there, I always want to have like onions. Like I always have to have fresh veggies on my burgers. I love onions. Raw onions are one of my favorite foods in the world. So there's always onions on there.
Right.
Whether they're sautéed mushrooms or whether they're like a mushroom matzo cheese sauce kind of thing going on.
Hmm.
Um, but most of the time when I go, it's going to be a double burger. It's going to be like a cheddar bacon cheeseburger, that kind of thing.
Okay. All right.
Dependable. It's always dependable. Like it's a hard burger to fuck up. But
Hmm.
but if I know the place, like I know they have like a fancy wagyu burger with like truffle,
Right.
like that it's really tastes good. I
Right.
will eat that burger there. But if I'm just going to a place and I'm having a burger, it's generally going to be like the bacon cheddar cheeseburger or something like something similar. Like because that's usually what most places their like big burger is like a double burger that's like a bacon cheeseburger of some sort.
Right. No, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, I'm usually a double cheeseburger. Depends on, I might get bacon on it or something like that, but one thing is I have to have the veggies on the burger. Gotta have lettuce, tomato, onion. Um, some people are like, no, I just want meat and cheese and bun. And I'm like, that's
Oh, you need like the texture and flavor difference. It plays off itself.
you really do. I'm a firm believer that a burger ain't a burger without lettuce and tomato and onion.
Oh,
Like it
for
just
sure. Oh
can't
yeah.
can't do it. Um, but yeah. Anyway. But yeah, I mean that's the last question I got for you. You got any questions for me at all?
What got you into streaming?
What got me into streaming?
Yeah.
Um,
How'd you start?
how did I start? I started with I was gaming from my Xbox, so I'd stream directly from the Xbox,
Okay.
playing like Forza, GTA, stuff like that. And then when I moved from California back to Washington, I started with the camera and the whole setup. And one of my buddies from up here, he was a breaker and kind of was showing me the whole breaker thing. And then I started following other breakers like Pokecard Cafe and the Max Show. Started breaking with those guys. Um, took a year off of work or for work to build my career up a little bit farther. And while I was gone, I decided that if I were to go back, because I never really like it didn't feel right breaking. Like I just always felt weird. And I told myself if I ever went back to doing anything with Pokemon, I would only do giveaways. I'd only give away stuff. I wouldn't sell anything because it felt weird doing it for me. I don't know why too, because I have like a business mindset um, when it comes to a lot of stuff. But for whatever reason, I was just like, if I ever do it again, I'm only giving stuff away for free. And
Hmm.
so I had a career change at the beginning of this year, and I wasn't even gonna like do a lot with Twitch. I was actually gonna focus more on stand up, and then instead I decided um, I started like kind of dabbling back and seeing how people were what people have been up to on Twitch and stuff, and I was like, you know what, screw it. I got all this stuff that I could give away. Like all I got to do is do it. So that's what I did. I, here we are.
And that was actually kind of my follow up was why you went to giveaways as opposed to breaking, like where that split happened.
Yeah. Well, it
But you kind of answered it.
yeah, and you know a few people have asked me this on the podcast, and so I tend not to go too deep because if you really want to know, like me and Zero talked about it, I think quite a bit.
Okay.
And Choco, but yeah, I mean, I did like I had a couple booster boxes. Like I remember I had an Evolving Skies boost. I had like two Evolving Skies booster boxes, and some other stuff here and there. And I was just like trying to figure out like how to do it and like how I wanted to go. Like I kind of liked having pull boxes because that's what I enjoyed was pull boxes. Um, and like I was doing that a little bit, but it just like it never really felt right. Like I felt like I was like it's almost when you feel like you're onto something, but you know you haven't quite got it
Yeah,
yet.
you're uncomfortable.
Right.
Like you're enjoying what you're doing, but something just isn't working. Like something just doesn't feel right.
Kind of. Kind of. It's like I guess if you're learning how to ride a bike or something, but you're trying to figure out how to make everything work and you're just focusing on your hands and not worrying about what your feet are doing or something. It's
Yeah.
hard to explain. It just felt like yeah, I should be here and I should be doing this with these people, but I'm not doing it right. And I'm like, okay, it just didn't make sense. And then like, I don't know, like I can't even remember how the whole giveaway thing even came about in my head, but I just made this choice one day where I was just like, I'm only gonna if I ever go back to doing that, I'm only gonna give stuff away. And originally I was like, if I go back to streaming in general, like I would probably just do gaming stuff, but um
Mhm.
then I was like, I just have so much stuff that I built up from like breaking with people that I'm like, I don't know what to do with any of this. I guess I'll just give it away. And, and then I just started giving stuff away. And I didn't even know what I
Yeah.
was doing there. I just started giving stuff away random, and then the game kind of came about naturally. And now we've made a new version of it that I think is a little bit better. There's more risk involved. It's more entertaining. But yeah, that's just where we're at now.
So
But
what's the crown jewel of your collection?
ooh, it would probably be. Oh dang, I don't even know. So it's either the Pristine 10 Shenron, the Pristine 10 Japanese Gary that Chaco just gave me for Christmas, or the Pristine 10 Gary from Pal. Is it Paldea? Or is it Paldea? The one that's like got the white background and it's like I can't remember what that new art style is called. Where they made, I think it's Paldea. It came there was the Gyarados, or you can get the Arcanine
Oh, the terrestrialized.
terrestrialized. I have the terrestrialized Japanese Gary in
Oh,
Pristine
okay.
10. Probably one of those three. One of those three.
Gary was it out of Violet
I think
in
so.
Japanese? I'm just trying to remember which set it was
I
in
actually
Japanese.
bought it off of one of Kyle's buddies, Christian, randomly because I kept trying to pull it and I kept missing it. Like I would
Yeah.
buy a box and then I wouldn't get it, and then the next person would come behind me and buy a different box and they'd get it. I'm like, motherfucker.
That was actually me with the Celebration Zard.
Oh,
I had it.
really?
I had the Zard pulled after my break 3 times,
Wow. That's
and
it sucks.
at that point I just bought it. I
Yeah.
was like, no, I
Yeah.
can't do this anymore. I
Yep.
can't see another Zard opened up. And
Yep.
like wow, like I just bought Celebrate. No, can't do
Yep.
it anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
So that's what happened with me. I was just like, I was like, yo, who's got one? And then Christian was like, hey, I got one, I'll sell you. And I was like, cool.
Yeah.
We came up with a very fair price, and he sent it to me from California. I got it. I sent it to CGC. Came back to Pristine 10. I'm like, what the fuck? How is
That's
that even a
awesome, man.
thing? Yeah,
That's awesome.
it's pretty dope. But yeah, I mean, I pretty much just collect Gary stuff and Dragon Ball Z
Okay.
stuff. But I mean, as you can see, like Hot Wheels and cars is a
Yeah,
huge
yeah,
thing
yeah.
for me, and like I got a bunch of stuff. So I don't know. But yeah, the as far as TCG stuff, I got some stuff coming back from grading. Like the I broke with Chumbot for a set of 94 Marvel that I've been chasing the holographic Wolverine from since I was a kid. This is like 28 years I've been trying to pull this
Yeah, yeah,
card.
yeah.
And I bought most of a booster box. It wasn't even a whole booster
94
box.
Marvel. Holy shit, that's when I collected Marvel.
Yeah, see, that was the first thing I ever collected.
I remember those Marvels.
Yeah.
Those were what, like, so I had sports cards before that, but that was before, that would have been before Magic the Gathering, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So I opened a box with him, or most of a box. It wasn't even a whole box. It was most of a box, and
Yeah.
I got the Wolverine I've been chasing, two other holograph cards. I got a bunch of fire. Like it's crazy. So I
That's
got a
cool.
bunch of that coming back like anytime now from CGC. But yeah, a bunch of stuff that I got in the works right now to get graded that I'm pretty stoked on. But as of right now, it's one of the three pristine tens, either the Shenron or the one of the two Garys. I'd probably say the one from Chaco, the pristine ten. Just because like he submitted one and I was like, bro, I have one in English in PSA 9. I'll trade you for that card right now and I'll just submit it. And he's like, no, I'll litigate. I was like, okay, well I'm submitting an English one. He's like, maybe we'll trade. He's like, I don't know, we'll see. Fucker comes back a pristine 10. He's like, cool, bro, that's for you. I'm like, what? And I was like, no, that's your
Nice.
card. And he's like, no, I submitted it for you. And I'm like, motherfucker. Like,
That's awesome.
yeah, it's fire. But I got some dope ass friends. What can I say? But you got anything else for me, boss?
I don't think so.
No. All right. Then I guess we'll just wrap it up. We're a couple hours in at this point.
Yeah, I think we're almost 3 hours.
Yeah. So, but thank you so much for doing this, man. I really appreciate the time. And it was cool to learn all this stuff about you that I never would have known if we hadn't done this. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. I think I try to hang out in voice chat, but for me, because I have the day job and then I stream, and then by the time I get off stream, like I jump into voice chat, like, hey guys, I'm going to bed. That's the best I can manage
Yeah.
by that time. So usually like on weekends, like Saturdays are my off day from streaming, so Saturdays I usually try and like drop into the voice chats if people are in them and
Right.
watch the streams. But it becomes pretty hard when you start streaming more and more and more to like I feel like I don't keep up with streams and chat and everything as much as I used to.
Yep. It happens. Well, you just got to do your best. You know what I mean? That's all you can do.
Because I definitely do. Like it's like the voice chat is so awesome. Like especially like some streamers are still streaming and everyone's in
Yep.
chat and hanging. Like that is we did it one day on my channel. Mr. Evie Light came in and we did it in my Discord,
Mm-hmm.
which I loved it. Like it's not something that we regularly do, but it was super
Right.
fun. But I like that because it's like the streamers are streaming, everybody's talking,
Yep.
like because again, like you said at the beginning, our community is. A lot of us have a very similar community. We might have members that don't cross all of the communities, but like
Right.
we all have some members that are also in the other channels one way or another.
Right.
So like people in that community where the streamer's streaming know who we are when we're talking in the background in voice chat.
Right.
And it just makes everything more fun because everybody knows, it's not just like some guy talking over the stream, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I love it. I need to start doing it more on my stream, but it's so hard because I feel like I have so much involved. Like having a bunch of people in there, I think would like make it impossible for me to stay on track. But I do it in other people's streams all the time.
Yeah, and yeah, I get that. Like that's kind of like the feeling that you get. Like I have a if I start getting like off the rails with my stream, the entire stream goes off the rails. Like
Yeah.
I can't keep track of anything.
Yep.
But it doesn't make it any less fun.
No, it really doesn't. But yeah, I'm glad that we've all been hanging out as much as we have. It's been fucking awesome. So, and we just got to keep doing it. You know what I mean? All this has grown out all organically. We just got to keep doing what we've been doing. You know what I
For
mean?
sure.
But other than that, man, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up here. Again, thank you so much for doing this. This has been fucking fantastic. So thank you.
For sure. Thanks for having me on, man.
You're welcome, bro. Anytime. But other than that, we're gonna fucking wrap it up.
Sitting sideways.